now. All right. I believe we are live. What is going on, everybody? This is Rand Thor 19, the man with the million, and we are coming live at you with another Xbox 2 podcast. Episode basically 204, 205, 206, I don't know. Wow. Maybe I've been keeping track right. Maybe I haven't been. I'm not really sure. But anyways...
Great.
Anyways, I'd have to go back and go through the playlist and count just how many podcasts we've done. But it's around 204-ish. And as always, I am joined by the lover of Dark Souls, Jez Corden of Windows Central. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, pal. Hey, pal. It's been another week of Xbox newsy goodness. Has it not, friend?
Well, yes. This week was more PlayStation newsy news.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But we think about it in terms of how it affects Xbox.
Well,
so even though PlayStation bought Bungie, I still think of it from an Xbox perspective. but yeah, it's been a fun week in the gaming industry, so we say in general. And man, it's just getting started. We're only in January, well, we're in February now.
Yeah, February now.
Yeah, but we were only in January, and what a month! This has been like the busiest January for news ever, I would think.
It's definitely been busy for you, right?
Yeah, it has been busy for me, but I'm loving it. I actually thrive in these conditions, so
yeah,
it's nice writing about things I actually care about rather than Amazon Black Friday deals and all that boring stuff.
It feels good to make videos again. There was a few months there where I wasn't feeling myself and I wasn't really making any content, but last 3 weeks or so, I've been like pumping out videos for the peeps, the ones that want to watch. It feels good. I've been reading I started a new book series called The Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson, who finished The Wheel of Time after Robert Jordan died. I finished book 1, The Way of Kings, and now I'm on book 2, Words of Radiance, and it is absolutely amazing in every regard. And we got video games finally coming out. So, playing some Dying Light 2. Sifu's coming out, which I'm really looking forward to. I got to play both Horizon games. Some game called Elden Ring comes out at the end of the month, but I don't think anybody really cares about it.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, well, it's true. I mean, ask Dealer Gaming in chat. Is he going to be playing Elden Ring? He's not going to be playing Elden Ring. I'm not going to be playing Elden Ring. Cole Eastwood's not going to be playing Elden Ring, and we know what's good. Elden Ring, no good. Elden Ring, bad.
You're a casual. That's why. Just casual gamers.
Says the guy
who
who can't even beat the first boss in Sekiro.
Hey, I've beaten the first boss in Sekiro now, but that's it. That's all I beat so far. But dude, I wanted to congratulate you because you've also hit 87,000 subscribers.
Thank you.
So congratulations, buddy.
It's amazing what happens when you actually put out videos. People actually end up subscribing. Maybe I could get to maybe I can get to 100,000 subscribers this year. Get that nice like silver plaque from YouTube. Get the nice little check mark. Because that'd be pretty damn awesome if like that could happen. But yeah, who knows if it will. It's
we'll find out.
Yeah. So I guess, what do you want to talk about, Jez? I'll throw it to you.
Wow, there's a lot to talk about, isn't there? There's a lot to unpack. I mean, have you been playing any games this week?
Well, okay, we have. But new? I believe you mentioned to me that you saw a Ghostwire Tokyo preview.
Yes, I did. I did see a Ghostwire Tokyo preview. I wrote a Ghostwire Tokyo preview up on Windows Central based on some gameplay footage that wasn't shared publicly. So like it's like a virtual behind closed doors thing. Do you remember those behind closed doors previews? Man,
yes.
What a time to be alive. But yeah, I saw Ghostwire Tokyo. I went in with no idea what the game was really. Like it wasn't on my radar because I didn't think I'd be covering it for work. And but then Microsoft bought Bethesda, so then it was on my radar a little bit, but not coming to Xbox for a year, so it still wasn't completely on my radar. So I just kind of ignored it. But after seeing the preview, I'm pretty excited for it now. It looks really good. It's like a man, it's hard to describe really. It's not quite open world, but it's not linear either. And it's first person, but it's not quite a shooter. It's a very strange game. It's like a magic shooter. You shoot fireballs and cast spells and stuff, and you shoot finger bullets, Rand. You shoot finger bullets to kill mysterious ghosts which have taken over Tokyo. So I'm very interested about the game. It looks really, really cool, and I guess check out my preview on Windows Central if you want to find out more.
Yeah, so that comes out March 25th, I think it was, or 22nd. Yeah. PlayStation exclusive. Right, coming, we assume, to Xbox a year from now, essentially, March of next year. I still kind of like wonder what that Bethesda deal would have looked like if they were able somehow to get them before they sold the rights to Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo.
Yeah, a part of me wonders if like that was a factor. Like Microsoft was like, "Oh man, these
maybe it was, because if you would have had Deathloop last year alongside like Forza and Halo and Psychonauts 2, it would have been that much better, and then you would have had at least a game in the early parts of this year, right? You would have Ghostwire Tokyo at least in March. But yeah, I wonder. Well, there was also rumors that Sony was wanting to buy the exclusivity to Starfield as well. Remember?
Oh my god. How devastating would that have been?
Yeah. I mean, it makes you wonder just how much of a problem Bethesda was in if they were willing to take that type of money. Like, they probably were like, well, we don't have any faith in Deathloop or Ghostwire Tokyo to sell, so we'll take PlayStation's money. But you figure Starfield, right? Like, the next game from the people that did Skyrim and Fallout. Like, how is that not going to be a massive, massive game? And yet, I guess they were negotiating for it, so... But that's the money.
I think we talked about it on the show before. Like, I think Bethesda was in an existential crisis. They were trying to figure out what their place was in a world of service games, which is why we had Wolfenstein Youngblood and we got Fallout 76, both of which were ill-received, even though Fallout 76 actually turned into a like half-decent game. Wolfenstein Youngblood didn't. That was just pure terrible horribleness, and I wish it didn't exist. But I digress. It's all done now, and hopefully under the protection of Xbox Game Pass, they can continue to just innovate. You know, because it seems like niche experiences thrive in Game Pass and get a spotlight that they otherwise might not have had. You know.
Yeah, that is very, very true. That's very true. Shout out to Flame in the super chat, Jez. He says, "Good afternoon, gents. With the purchase of Bungie, I'm hoping one day Destiny 2 will be good again. Also, check out Dreamscaper on Game Pass. It's great." Wait, Flame, are you saying that Destiny 2 isn't great right now? I don't know. I have some friends, namely the Iron Lords, Lord Cognito and Mr. Anict, maybe even Luca, who play it consistently. Gaming Forte? Are you telling me that they're spending all this time and they're not playing a good game? What?
Were you ever into Destiny at all?
I
was never really into it. I could not.
So I started playing Destiny. So I played Destiny 1 at the time where like I was still motivated to complete every game I played. And at the time, Bungie was my favorite developer in the world because they had created my favorite franchise. You know, made Halo 1, Halo 2, Halo 3, Halo Reach, ODST, right? And I was just like, okay, they have these string of hits. They basically ignited my love for multiplayer with the Halo franchise. And I'm like, Destiny is going to be cool, right? How could it be bad? And then Destiny 1 came out, and I don't know, it was pretty bad. But I had played it, and I had gotten achievements in it, so I was sort of compelled by my OCD to try to get all the achievements in it. And I had quite a few people in my friend group who basically got addicted to it. I think my buddy DOA has 300 days of time in the game or something like that. Yeah.
Wow.
And that's how, like, they, like... And at that point in time, I had met like Phil and like Mike Ybarra, and Ybarra was really big into Destiny, so I introduced Ybarra to DOA, and then they started raiding and doing all this stuff together. It's pretty crazy. But so a lot of my friend group were really into Destiny until they weren't. So I have like a lot of the achievements in Destiny 1. I think I have the initial 1,000, I want to say. Like I think I have all the base achievements, even beating a raid without anybody dying, which was super tough. But then I don't think I did any of the DLC achievements. So yeah, I played my fair share of Destiny, but it was more out of a commitment and a sickness within myself of like, okay, I play in this game, I need to complete all the achievements, because I was like that for a long time. I was really like that. I know this is kind of sad, but if it wasn't a game I was really looking forward to playing, and I might skip that game if I didn't think I could get all the achievements in it. Honestly, because
like you are the man with the million, right?
Well, I wanted that thing of like, you look at the gamer card and it's just 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000. Like I felt a certain way not having everything in the game.
Yeah. That's fair enough.
Which, I eventually broke out of. But yeah, so I have like 300 hours in Destiny 1. But I only have like 60 hours in Destiny 2. So John G wants to know if we think Bungie's worth $4 billion. $4
billion?
$4 billion. Well, 3.6, rounding up to 4, right? So yeah, we'll talk about that when we get to that topic, I guess. BC says, sorry I can't watch live, fellas. Have a great show. FIFA's better than Dark Souls. Don't at me. #sauce.
Wow. FIFA's better than Dark Souls?
You know what? I agree. FIFA is better. I have never even played. Well, no, that's not true. I played a bunch of FIFAs, but definitely is better than Dark Souls for sure.
Man, that is some bad takes right there, my friend.
No, it's the right
That's
one.
A bad take. No, it's a bad take. It's a terrible take.
Our buddy Sin Vendetta, Mr. Dark Souls himself, says, Rand, you should get Elden Ring and come co-op with Jez, Luca, Erica, myself, and so many others that'll be playing. Come on, it'll be fun. It sounds like torture to me. It doesn't sound like a good time.
Wow.
But we'll see. Drew says, could we see Xbox and PlayStation going 50-50 on some big publishers to get past monopoly laws and keep from big tech grabbing them up? What, like you buy Capcom, I'll take Sega. Like I'll take Take-Two, you take EA. Something like, are you talking something about that?
I mean, I did write an article about this today, actually. I wrote an article about because HoloLens was in the news this week. And I know nobody listening to this really cares about HoloLens, but sometimes I write for
nobody
the rest
cares
of the
about HoloLens, Jez.
Yeah. I know. That is true, actually. But sometimes I write articles for the rest of Windows Central's audience, not just the Xbox peeps. But in the article, I sort of talk about how Facebook wants to control the internet. They're investing a huge amount of money with the hope that you'll ditch your iPhone and put on a headset instead. And I think at some point Facebook's going to realize they can't do this without having premium gaming content. But given the way Facebook's share price tanked this week, maybe they're going to rethink what they're doing, But I do think there is a rush from some big tech companies like Facebook and Apple and maybe Amazon thinking about what the future looks like, and the future is content based, and they'll destroy these companies. I think Phil said it in an interview. He was like, a lot of these companies that are looking to get into the space, they just don't get it, and companies like Facebook and Amazon, they'll destroy these companies. We saw how Facebook handled Double Helix, right? What have they even made since they joined Facebook? Anything? Do they even still exist?
No, they don't exist
anymore. They got dissolved.
Well, exactly.
Well, there you go. That they could have been Microsoft's Killer Instinct studio, but Microsoft at the time was under budgeted.
Yes, and Microsoft at the time wasn't buying anybody. They were shuttering studios at the time. Lionhead. Press Play, I believe they also shuttered, right?
Yeah, which went on to make Deep Rock Galactic, which is huge now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, hindsight 2020, right?
Hindsight is 2020. T. Tucker says, just so you know, I chose you two. I think I saw he said on Twitter that he had to choose between listening to us or spending time with his wife, and I guess he chose us. So we appreciate that. Although they say happy wife, happy life. I hope
she's gonna come after us now.
I know. I hope you don't get in trouble, brother. Like for choose. I don't know. I think you made the poor choice here. We're always available, after, right? Like you can listen to it on Spotify or Google Play or iTunes or the replay on YouTube. But you don't want to make your wife upset.
That's true.
Yeah. The Intern of War says, does the Bethesda deal look like a steal now? Yeah, and you know what? I think you tweeted out that day, Jez. Man, Mojang looks like a incredible bargain at this point, right?
Yeah, it does. Mojang definitely a huge bargain. Especially they bought Destiny for one game, but I think there is some potential in Destiny. Like they're talking a lot about media and expanding to more games. And if you look at what Riot's doing with League of Legends right now, it's not hard to imagine a world where there's a Destiny mobile game, or there's Destiny this and Destiny that, and like a TV show and all that kind of stuff. And obviously Sony's better equipped than Microsoft to make TV shows and movies and that kind of thing. So I think I said last week that they're worth more to Sony than they are to Microsoft. But
fair enough. Austin says Sony is planning 10 games as a service games by 2026. Wouldn't identity change from all the first-person action games? Yeah, we'll be definitely talking about that when we talk about all this PlayStation Bungie stuff. But yeah, I mean, this past generation, they were strictly focused on single-player games only, and they let the third parties fill in the gaps with multiplayer, and that's when the games as a service started to rise. And I think clearly Sony realized that they need to have their own games as a service, because why let Fortnite and Call of Duty, which may no longer be on PlayStation anymore, well, I mean, Warzone will at least, right? On all these other free-to-play games, just essentially, why let them dominate the field? Even though you take 30% of the cut, why not make your own and take 100% of it, right?
That's true.
So, and Slow-Mo Backslap.
Well, right now.
He says, Kaladin effing Stormblessed. That's right. Slow-Mo has read the Stormlight Archive, and he's like, let me know what you think when you finish it. And I think I finished the book in 2 days, and I sent him a DM that was Kaladin effing Stormblessed, because he's one of the main characters in the book, and he's pretty damn awesome. So, thanks, Slow-Mo. Can't wait to finish the series. Got this book and like 3-4 more others to go.
Is it related to the Wheel of Time, or is it something else?
No, it's just by the author that finished the Wheel of Time after Robert Jordan died.
Okay.
Miami Magpie says, Jez, have you been playing Elden Ring, and what do you think?
I have not played Elden Ring. Like, colleagues were in the network test, not me, because at the time I wasn't into Dark Souls, or Souls games at all. So, I think was it Miles? I think it was Miles Don Pierre who did the
Don
closed
Pierre?
network test. The Don Pierre, yeah.
The Don Pierre who started a horror podcast?
Yeah, he started a horror podcast. I forgot about that. What is it called now? I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, Miles started a horror podcast, which is awesome. I know you guys should check it out. So, find Miles on Twitter and you'll find his podcast.
Yeah,
no. I can't remember what it's called.
And tell him Rand and Jez plugged his horror podcast for him. We're very nice to Miles, but he's always very mean to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Are you talking about the disagreement over Souls likes on the?
Well, not only that, but you're like, I'm gonna make a Randall NFT or whatever. And he was just like, I'm going to mint all of Rand's bad takes because I'm the one. Because he's always out there being like, Pokemon and whatever. And I'm just like, Pokemon is bad. And he doesn't like that. So.
I mean, it is a bad take.
No,
especially considering how much it's sold.
It doesn't matter. When does popularity ever equal quality? They're not
That's a fair point.
synonymous.
I mean, Halo, case in point, Halo. Yeah, so you're right there.
Sure, in that regard, popularity does equal quality, but not in every regard.
Oh dear. This is getting messy. This is getting messy already.
It's too bad Miles isn't here, though. So
well, that's true.
Austin said
Fear
he
on
meant
Tap.
third-person games in his super chat, so not first-person, because Sony is Sony's the king of the third-person over-the-shoulder. As some people would say, sad dad games, right?
That is true.
The sad dad games.
Oh, and Poochie mentioned that Miles' podcast is called Fear on Tap.
Fear on Tap.
It's about horror TV shows and games and movies and stuff like that, I believe. So if you're interested, do check it out.
I see the one and only Mr. Boomstick from Double Barrel Gaming's in the chat, wishing us a happy Friday. Happy Friday to you, Boom. I hope your podcast was did well today. He asked us to be on a couple weeks ago, but I tell you what, man, sometimes he podcasts really early. And you know what? To be fair, I'm podcasted out. Like last week killed me. We did 10 hours of podcast, and me and you did 10 hours of podcast together because we had to do Defining Duke with Cognito and Maddie, which went on for 4 hours. Then we did our show for 3 hours, and then we did Xbox 4 with Nick and John of Xbox Era for 4 hours. So like I'm just kind of completely over podcast at this point.
Yes, let's. I'm gonna take a break from guesting, but it was fun to get all the perspectives and meet with everyone in the community during this momentous period of time in which there's a million games.
There is.
Tons of news.
Mr. Too Opinionated says, Rand Jez, how do you guys feel about Scalebound's creator begging Phil on Twitter to work together again? Did you see this, Jez?
I did not see this. Someone mentioned it to me and I asked them to link me, but then the podcast started, so I haven't checked Twitter.
Yeah, Hideki Kamiya posted a picture. I think Phil's in Japan right now. And it was like a sign that said Phil Spencer, Xbox CEO, Microsoft Gaming or whatever. And Kamiya, just put out the picture and then said, "Hey Phil, let's work together again." Let me find it because Hasbro sent it to me. Yeah, it's a picture that says Microsoft Corporation, Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer, and Hideki Kamiya said, "Thanks Phil, let's work together again." Winky face.
What do you think about that?
Like what do you mean? What do I think about it? Do I think they should work together again? What do I think of his tweet to him? Like what do you mean?
Do you think they should work together? Do you think they should put everything aside? What happened with Scalebound? Do you think they should revive Scalebound?
I think Scalebound was one of those games that there was problems on both sides. I think maybe you could make mention that there was more of a problem on Platinum side, but I don't think Xbox really also, because I think you've talked about on the show before some of the requirements Microsoft kind of foisted on them.
Yeah, like I'd heard that they wanted them to use Unreal Engine, but they had no experience with Unreal Engine, and that kind of contributed them to missing milestones. And in-game development, that you have like a roadmap of what you're going to develop, features you're going to do, and stuff like that. And Scalebound had missed a bunch of developmental milestones from what I heard. And I also heard that part of the reason for that is because they were forced to use Unreal Engine, which they didn't have experience with. And then also the Nier Automata thing was going on, and they weren't using Unreal Engine for that as such. The development of that was a lot easier for them. So like it sort of looked like they were progressing further on Nier than they were with Scalebound. And I think it just led to a lot of disagreements and bad things happened. But I would like to see them work together because I really do like Platinum games. And I think Metal Gear Rising is one of the best and most underrated. I think it's actually one of the best Metal Gear games, period. No, I
agree with you. Platinum games can make some incredible experiences. They also make some pretty terrible ones. There's very much a team at Platinum that makes games like Metal Gear Rising or Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, which was incredible. And they make games like Bayonetta
Amazing.
1, which is a masterpiece in my opinion. But then they also make stuff like Legend of Korra and TMNT and just like horrible, awful games. And Scalebound was supposed to be like their big like 18 game. Clearly stuff went wrong. But yeah, I wouldn't mind. Look, we've all talked about it, on this show and plenty of other people in the community. One of the things that was in your article that you wrote about things that Xbox users want Xbox to fix, essentially, and that's more Japanese games and maybe mending defenses with Platinum Games and getting a game from them or whatever would go a long way to that. So yeah, I mean, if they have a good idea, and I think Phil's man enough where I don't think he holds a grudge like that, where it's like, well, no, you screwed us, I'm never working with you again. I don't think he's like that. So
No.
yeah, I think potentially, and you know what the funny thing is, I'm sure maybe when I scroll down in chat, people will be like, have him work on Scalebound again. I don't think anybody wants to revisit Scalebound. It'd probably be something new.
What if they did though?
Oh God, Jesus! Let's not start this up.
What if though, Rand? What if Scalebound came back? Oh man, I'm gonna write an article. Scalebound's coming back.
Yeah, there you go. That's your article. That's your article for tomorrow. Yeah.
Clickbait.
Michael in the super chat says, "Hey Jez, are you able to confirm any reason why Xbox may have declined to buy Bungie other than the high price?"
As far as I know, it's just the high price, and I think Bungie was just worth more to Sony than it was to Microsoft. Microsoft doesn't have a transmedia arm. They don't want to make movies and TV shows. They just want to sort of make games, and I think Bungie pitched a lot of value in the potential of their IP, and I think Microsoft thought they maybe oversold what they would be able to do with the IP. So I think it's just ultimately just business. I don't think there's anything. It does seem like I know the Bungie dude said that it wasn't true that they were talking, but I know for a fact they were talking, and I know for a fact they were talking about it, and I think it was just business at the end of the day. I don't think there was anything like Microsoft being like, well, we don't really want Bungie. It seems like they were talking first, and then it just sort of was the business aspect of it. I mean, Bungie is a very ambitious studio, and they make a game no other independent dev could possibly make. One that requires dedicated servers, one that has crazy overheads, has like huge amount of devs, and they're a really big studio. They're one of the biggest indie studios, and they make a very expensive game that costs a lot of money with all the servers and all that kind of stuff, because it is fully on dedicated servers. It's not like some of these it's not like Call of Duty, which doesn't have any dedicated servers, and it's not like I don't know, Diablo or whatever, where you connect to each other directly, and the only dedicated servers are the servers that create the matchmaking or whatever. But I don't know, it's just the business at the end of the day. But it sounds like the games are going to be multi-platform still. Maybe PlayStation version will have extra features. We've seen them do that before in the past, but it does sound like Xbox games will still have access to Destiny, just like I think PlayStation games will still have access to Call of Duty, even though Rand doesn't believe me on that.
They will still have access to Call of Duty with Warzone.
You know what I mean, Rand?
Mm.
You know what I mean.
Unkempt Talk says, "Yo, glad to hear you're reading Stormlight, my favorite series by far. Any ideas when Final Fantasy 14 will come to Xbox, if ever?" A lot of people know about Stormlight, Jez. It's I know your girlfriend's been reading a lot. Maybe you should introduce her to Stormlight.
What is she reading right now? Andy, what are you reading at the moment?
Well, while we wait for that,
she's reading a horror called The Chestnut Man.
The Chestnut Man. It's a horror book?
Apparently.
Interesting. Is it about a chestnut that kills people?
I don't know. You'll have to Google it, man. Or Bing it. Or use Bing for those sweet Microsoft reward points.
I don't think Final Fantasy 14 will come to Xbox.
No, I don't think it will.
I think
either.
that ship
Not
has
anytime
sailed.
soon, anyway.
Yeah.
I think it could still come to Xbox in the future, but the bottleneck to that right now is the chip shortage, because Final Fantasy can't get microchips to build new servers, so they're at capacity. Like they do not want to have another version, because that's going to flood the game with millions of more players on servers they don't have right now. So Final Fantasy is not coming to Xbox anytime soon, purely because they can't get any servers. They can't even sell the PC version because they can't get any servers. So there's no chance they're going to target a new platform when they're at full capacity. So
shout out to
it sucks,
shout out to my brother Gaming Forte, who's been a member for 17 months. He says that PvP ain't on dedicated servers, referring to Destiny. Game would be truly amazing if it was. Love the show. Keep up the amazing work.
The maps are on dedicated servers, though, aren't they?
Well,
it's not like a player can host like the open world areas where there's players phasing.
I mean, if Forte says they ain't on dedicated servers, he would know.
I mean, the PvP isn't, but I thought the open world was, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
And maybe the open world is. Well, he says the PvP isn't, so he didn't say the PvE wasn't. But yeah. Okay. So.
I think the instances are peer-to-peer, but the open world stuff is dedicated servers. But that's what I'm talking about, though. They've always needed a partner. They always needed a partner to make that game, and they partnered with Activision for servers. And then Activision was like, "Well, you're not doing what we want, so go away." And then and now they're partnering with Sony because their ambition outstrips their cash flow, basically. But I think it's a good thing for Destiny players.
Just think about how close they were to almost Microsoft owning the Destiny IP again, or not again, but just in general, because Activision owned the Destiny IP, and Bungie bought it back from them in 2019. So, if that was still going on and Microsoft had bought Activision Blizzard, they would have owned the Destiny IP.
Damn,
which is kind of crazy when you think about it, but.
Crazy.
You know, like Bungie, they have a lot of plans, and I remember talking to Cognito about it, and we both came to the conclusion like they're going to have to be bought by somebody because they just don't have the cash flow or the capital to be able to do what they envision they want to do in the future. Yeah. And years ago, I thought Xbox would get them. There was rumors that they were talking before the whole Bethesda stuff happened, and it was like I felt Phil was gonna bring him home, but I think when the Activision Blizzard stuff happened, it was just kind of like, yeah, we're out on Bungie at this point, and they went with PlayStation. Jacqueline says, if something goes wrong, take care of my man Kaladin. See, we're getting Stormlight Archive super chats here, Jez. See, it's such a good show. People want to share the love of it, you know.
I had no idea books were this popular.
Yeah, of course they are.
But that's so boring. They don't even have any pictures. Actually, tell a lie, I've started reading a book recently.
Really?
I've started reading the Berserk manga because it's vaguely related to Dark Souls. So that's a book, right? I mean, it's got pictures, but it's still a book, technically.
Yeah.
Right?
Austin wants to know if there's a way to support without YouTube taking 30%. Yeah, I believe there's a PayPal link in the description if you don't want YouTube to take 30%. There's always that option. Not many people use it. I think only a few have, but that option is there for people that want to support the channel. And I think anybody that does do it. Let's see what else we got here. Michael says Microsoft acquires Platinum Games. I mean, Phil has talked about wanting to get more Japanese presence, Japanese studios.
That is true.
Maybe. Space Dovakin says, fun fact, Hideki is continuing his legendary blocking spree with Xbox gamers shouting no. That's right. I wonder if he blocked anybody replying to him.
He blocked me.
Oh, that's right. He did block after you interviewed him, right?
Yeah, I interviewed him, and I thought it went really well. And then I logged on Twitter, and he blocked me. So, GG.
Kay Asante says, salute to Dynamic Duo, Xbox 2 on Friday, perfect cap on my work week. And yeah, you know what? I will be on Kay Asante's podcast tomorrow with Everborn Saga. So they got me waking up early tomorrow, like 9 a.m. or something.
God, that's.
But then again, like my sleeping schedule is a little weird now, so I'm usually up at that. I'm like kind of up at 6 a.m. now, so normally I wouldn't be, but can't wait to talk to Keisante and Everborn Saga about whatever they want to talk about, and hopefully it's not going to be a 4-hour podcast because I've had too many of those lately.
Hint, hint.
Too many 4-hour podcasts. Thank God I wasn't on the ILP one that was like 7 hours long. Can you imagine doing a 7-hour show, Jez? Could you do a 7-hour show?
Oh man, I think we've done one before.
A 7? What, me and you? I don't think so.
Oh man, I don't know. Well, we should do one. Let's do one for E3. 7-hour show.
7-hour show.
We'll do an 8-hour show. We'll go on better. How about that? How about that? Cash me outside, bro.
Brett says, I know it's doubtful, but Platinum Games CEO just stepped down 1 to 2 weeks ago. Now, Kamiya-san is showing love for Phil. Is Phil buying them? That's that's the thing about all this. After they bought Bethesda, everybody's like, okay, well, who's next? But then people moved away from individual studios and were just like, well, this publisher and this publisher. And then the unthinkable happened and they bought Activision. And then 2 weeks later, Bungie was bought by PlayStation. And now it's just like... And then you have people like Jeff Keighley saying that people are talking that there's other big, high-profile acquisitions that are in final negotiations. And it's just like, what is going on here? Like, are we going to just wake up sometime next month and find out that, somebody bought somebody, essentially? Like, what?
I think that is probably what the future looks like at the moment.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Chris says, where does Japan sit as a priority to Xbox? Are they interested in doing acquisitions or partnerships there? I mean, they've publicly said that they are interested. I don't know what their priority is to Xbox, to be honest with you. They say it's a high priority, but I don't know. I maybe that's lip service. What do you think, Jez?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell until they actually go ahead with it. But the thing is, a lot of the things that I thought were lip service turned out to not be lip service. Like when Satya says we're all in on gaming, I've often just sort of took the cynical view that that's just lip service. That's just him, telling Xbox gamers what they want to hear. But turns out that it was true. They actually do care, So I suppose we'll just have to wait and see.
Did you see YouTube just rolled out downvoting?
Really?
Yeah, introducing
dislikes?
Introducing reply downvotes. Tap to downvote. See a reply that isn't adding to the conversation? Let us know by downvoting. Downvotes are private. Your votes aren't public and won't be shared with the tweet author or others on the timeline. And helps make Twitter better. Your feedback helps us prioritize higher quality content for you and everyone on Twitter. So apparently, if you guys see a reply,
it's like Reddit.
If Jez is ever talking about Dark Souls in a reply, you can downvote that sucker and show him that you don't want to hear any of this stuff. It's kind of crazy. Oh yeah,
so you can downvote.
Yeah, I have it. I'm looking on my thing and I'm clicked on someone's reply and I see it. Yeah, I just got it.
Is it replies only or actual?
It's tweets? Replies only. It's not to the initial tweet. Okay. It's to the replies of the tweet.
That's okay then. That's fine.
And it's just a big arrow pointing down.
I thought you meant that added the dislike button back to YouTube.
No, they're not gonna do that.
Why not?
Because big corporations wanted it removed.
Are you saying that Call of Duty wanted it removed because they had some of the most disliked videos of all time?
I mean, the big corporations that pay the advertising bills for YouTube wanted it gone, so it's gone.
Yeah.
They say it's for creator health and all that nonsense, but then you can go in your creator studio and literally see the dislikes. So it's not that it's gone; they just don't display it on the page, but it's still there. I think getting rid of dislikes is horrible because you can usually tell by the like to dislike ratio if the video's good. Normally you click on a video and it's got 800 dislikes and 10 likes. You know the video's a piece of garbage, more than likely, right? But now all you see is the likes, so you can't really tell. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Chaos Might says Microsoft should buy the Scalebound IP and give it to Compulsion. Here we go with the more Scalebound stuff. Look what you did, Jez. Look what you did.
Oh, great. Great.
Yeah. Michael says Microsoft is probably better off going after smaller Japanese devs or create some internally instead of publishers like Sega. Sounds like it'd be more challenging. I mean, I think Microsoft would have an easier time of buying smaller developers or individual developers rather than publishers, especially right now. It'd be kind of hard to get a big publisher to go through when you're waiting for the Activision Blizzard one to go through, right?
That is true.
Let's see what else we got here. Michael also says Rip Kentaro Miri. I don't know who that is. Kentaro.
He's the famous artist who made Berserk.
What's Berserk?
Berserk is a manga series which has been credited for inspiring Dark Souls.
Interesting.
It's very, very good. I think you'd actually like it. It's like hyper dark fantasy.
Ooh.
It's one of the most depressing stories I've ever experienced. So
Hereditary Bane says, any more word on Ubisoft Plus? Thanks. Jez, do you have any more info on Ubisoft Plus at all?
Nope, I'm afraid. We all think and expect that we are going to get some form of Ubisoft goodness on Game Pass eventually, but when that's going to happen remains unknown.
Dan says, Rand, why do you want PlayStation games to come to PC day one so bad? You keep talking about it, and yet even 5-year-old Uncharted points are coming later on PC. Well, I wouldn't say I keep talking about it. It definitely... I just said that I think it's a reality at some point. I mean, clearly you read some of the interviews with Jim Ryan and recently, and it's very clear that they're going to be putting everything on PC. Part of the reason why is, I think... One of the reasons why I like the Xbox approach is because they give you choice. You can buy the game on Xbox or you can buy the game on PC. So like the idea of like Horizon Forbidden West out on PlayStation 5, right? But not announced for PC. It almost feels like they're trying to pull you to double dip, or anybody that's really that interested to play it on PC to buy it on PlayStation and then buy it again. I think it would be a lot better. I think it'd be more consumer friendly if they said, yeah, all of our games are coming to PC, so you can be informed on your choice about where you want to play Horizon Forbidden West or God of War or Gran Turismo. Especially since we know pretty much all the games will be coming to PC. The only reason they just haven't announced it is because they want all those initial sales and then anybody who bought it to buy it again on PC. So, personally, I don't care, because I'm not going to be playing anything on my PC. All the PlayStation games that I'm going to play are all going to be on the PS5. And there is a sense of, what's the word I'm looking for here, Jez?
Pokemon?
No, there was a lot of people that threw a lot of shit my way.
What's that? Why would people do that?
When I said that this was going to happen. Because I knew it was going to happen. I was told it was going to happen. And a lot of the PlayStation community, they flung a lot of mud. So I guess you can say maybe there's, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for here, Jez?
Schadenfreude?
I don't know. Maybe I just like seeing them freak out. And I don't know. Something along those lines. Something like that, right?
Yeah.
I just find it funny when they don't really bitch and complain anymore because I think they realized it. But the salt was Very tasty. Very tasty for a while there. Mr. Two Opinion said, what is the stopping point for acquisitions? That's a good question. Maybe the stopping point is you don't have any more money for acquisitions, or you think you have enough? Because at some point, you have so many, you don't need any more. So that would be the stopping point, right? Because you even brought that up like a couple months ago. That at some point, it's like diminishing returns. If you have 30 studios, like, do you really need 32 studios? Or 35? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's an interesting discussion to have. I think I just think they need to plug the Japanese games gap, and they need to plug maybe get another like core mobile game dev, and I think then they don't need to go further. But I don't know. Maybe they feel differently. Maybe they got a different strategy. Maybe they'll buy a VR game dev. Maybe they want to get into the whole metaverse bullshit. Maybe they'll buy an NFT game dev.
You think they want to get into the meta stuff after what happened to Facebook this past week?
Oh man, who knows?
Poor Zuckerberg.
Poor Zuckerberg.
Did you smile when you saw the stock tank?
Yeah. I was talking to my girlfriend at the time actually, and she was laughing because she knew that I'd be all over that. But it has been funny to watch. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it's kind of bittersweet now though, because our friend Cognito works for Facebook, and I don't want him to suffer. So I'm like, man, I can't hate Facebook as much as I used to, because I think it's bad for Cognito, right?
But I'm sure Cognito will be fine. He'll get a job at Xbox or something where he should be working, you know?
Yes, eventually.
But I don't know, it's funny, Meta, because if you guys don't know Meta's stock, they posted an earnings report, which they lost a lot of money, didn't they? They lost a lot of money.
$250 billion?
That was their stock valuation. I'm talking about their earnings report. Or something.
Oh yeah, they I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but they said that they're going to lose billions of dollars to
the metaverse.
To the metaverse, but also because Facebook is being screwed over by Apple's new privacy controls. So Apple doesn't really care about your privacy. I don't think they actually care, but what they do care about is hurting Facebook. And I think Apple has realized that they can score a two for here. They can seem like the good guy. They can seem like the good guy for focusing on privacy and all that stuff, and make everyone think they care about you. Apple doesn't care about you. They just pretend to care, but that's neither here nor there. But at the same time, they can also create Facebook's earnings and really hurt the company. So and that's what they've done very cleverly. And Facebook is crying because now they can't track iOS users as well as they used to be able to. And because of that, the quality of their ad targeting has decreased, which means less conversions, which means less affiliate revenue for them. And because of that, they lost a load of money. But it wasn't just that, Rand. It wasn't just that the dip in ad revenue. They also announced they've invested tons and tons of stuff into this metaverse bullshit, which investors think is probably bullshit. And as such, they've started taking their money out of the company because they don't believe this stuff is actually going to go anywhere, which is, a position I can appreciate. Mm. What do you think about the metaverse?
Well, I don't know if you mentioned it, but they also announced that for the first time ever, they actually lost users, right?
Oh yeah, that too.
Which was
yeah, it was basically the worst. It was a reckoning because Facebook has been focused on this metaverse crap when really they should have been focusing on how to stop people leaving its platforms. Everyone's fleeing Facebook platforms for TikTok, and stuff like that. And everyone hates Facebook. Nobody likes Facebook. Everyone hates it. People hate using it. They feel like they're forced to use it just because everyone else is using it. I haven't met anyone who actually just thinks, yeah, I really like Facebook. Everyone just says, I have to use it because my family use it and that's how we communicate. But I've never heard anyone actually say, I like Facebook. But I digress. But little kids and teenagers and the next generation, they don't care. They don't want to talk to their family. They want to hang out with their friends. So they've all ditched Facebook already, and the next generation focuses on TikTok, and that's TikTok actually overtook Google itself in web traffic recently. I don't know if you saw this.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, but the 1 day stock trade went down so badly that was like 24%. It's like $220 billion, the most ever for a U.S. company. And
Hilarious.
it's like, ooh, that's gotta hurt.
It's gotta hurt. I have no idea how Zuckerberg still has a job. I don't know.
I think he controls the board. That's why.
All right.
So
someone needs to. They need to oust him because Zuckerberg's like mentality is completely wrong for what he's doing with that company. But you know, it's funny. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying watching the fall from grace, you know?
And you know, if you guys are enjoying the podcast, that's a good segue. Make sure you hit that like button. Helps out the show. And subscribe if it's your first time here. If you just haven't, make sure you hit the little subscribe button. All those are free. It really helps the channel grow and the videos reach more people. So thank you guys for being here.
Yeah, you guys rock.
Yeah. Brett says both Phil and Kamiya have both made clear that they do think game preservation is important. Game preservation is important. J Boy says Scalebound is like the Egyptian god card of Xbox. Yeah, essentially. Chinook Guy says I feel like Xbox should also be focusing on South Korea as there are a good bit of fans there. Maybe create a studio.
Yeah, that is true.
I mean, Phil's talked about that, about the idea of maybe like finding the next big video game from a company in India and elsewhere, like maybe like founding a studio there, buying a studio from there.
What they should do is they should build a studio for Starcraft and put it in Korea, because Starcraft is absolutely massive in South Korea, and I think that'd be a pretty cool thing to do. You know, StarCraft in Korea is like a national sport. It's where esports were basically born. You know, they people gathering to stadiums like to watch StarCraft. South Korea was the first country that really did that stuff. So there's a legacy there that Microsoft could tap into with StarCraft, I think, and hopefully we'll see them do it.
When was last? How long ago has it been since StarCraft 2 came out?
God, it's been a while.
10 years?
Has
it been
something like that? Yeah.
Has it really been 10 years? So no, it has to have been less than 10.
Like 8 years or something. It's been a long time.
I remember when StarCraft 2 came out. It was a huge thing.
Yeah, it was.
And they broke it up into like 3 games, right? It wasn't just one game. It was 3.
Yeah, it had like 3 massive story expansions for each of the races. So like Protoss and Zerg and the Terran, if I remember right. I'm not as into StarCraft as I am into Warcraft, but I appreciate it.
Warcraft's coming to mobile.
Yeah, it is. And actually, Rand, that was the game that I was expecting to see last week.
Oh, so that was the unannounced game that you had heard about?
Yeah. But apparently they have multiple Warcraft games in the works, according to the stuff. So
interesting.
That combines two things you do not care about: mobile gaming and Warcraft.
Warcraft and mobile gaming. Yep. Do not care. Do not care one bit.
I don't like mobile gaming at all, generally. But if like some of these games get Microsoft like Xbox achievements and you know Xbox Live integration and stuff, I would dabble. And I've actually played Diablo Immortal, the game everyone was mad about, and it's actually really good. It's a really good game. So it's interesting to think about all the stuff they're gonna have to play with Microsoft, I guess.
Yeah, Chiefman says, I'm going to call it, so he's making a prediction. Sega will be the next publisher acquisition for Microsoft, but more developers will be bought first.
Interesting.
And RDX Son of Fett says, GT versus Motorsport. Who does better this year? Well, I think GT sells more. Physical copies, digital copies. Motorsport, I would imagine you mean which one is going to be better on Metacritic.
Is 4 coming out this year?
Well, we don't know. We assume Forza Motorsport is coming this year.
Oh, right, okay.
And I think it is, but there's always a chance maybe it gets delayed to spring of next year. Yeah. I don't know. Like, PlayStation held their state of play for Gran Turismo, but I didn't watch it because I don't care about sim racers. I think sim racers are incredibly boring. So
What's wrong with them?
they're just boring, bro. They're just I don't
know. What makes them boring compared to Forza Horizon? Because like you do the same thing. You drive around, you turn left. No,
sometimes you turn right in Forza Horizon. No, I've always felt that sim racers were just boring. I've always enjoyed the arcade racers, so the Forzas or the Burnouts, right, of the world. I just don't really like the sim racing experience. I know some people do. I know Dealer loves the sim racing experience, like the idea of like trying to get the perfect lap and like trying to better yourself every time and all that stuff. But I'm also not the biggest fan of circuit races either. I'm much more. I like the point-to-point stuff better. I don't know which one will do better. I mean, Forza's always kind of been highly rated. I think the last couple Gran Turismos weren't. So will this be a return to form? I guess we'll find out next month. But then, like, it's been a while since the last Forza game, Motorsport. I think 2017 was when Forza Motorsport 7 came out. So it's been, if it comes out this year, that'll be 5 years. So you wonder how much it's changed, because clearly something's changed with Forza Motorsport, because you don't take 5 years to make a new, sim racer. So they must have changed some stuff. I know they were tweaking the engine and all that and all those things for like next gen, and there's talk like maybe there's going to be a story in Forza Motorsport now with like cinematics and things like that. I guess we'll just have to wait and see, but I don't know.
How does that work? How do you put a story in a racing game?
I mean, there is kind of a story in Forza Horizon, but it's not done very well. So,
is it a bit cringe?
Yeah, people don't really pay attention to it. It's just kind of like, hey, amigo, we're here to race in Mexico, and let's explore and find things, and you're gonna win. And like, okay, now you won this, and now you can do these races. It just gives you, I guess, a reason to be there in Mexico, driving around. It's not really important. The game doesn't need it at all. So, Bone Slave says nobody's talking about Team Ninja, which makes the most sense for Microsoft. Maybe. I didn't really think about Team Ninja, but you could be right. Raiden Blade has been a member for 9 months, says, Rand, if you need a sleeping pin, just watch the state of play for Gran Turismo 7. It had no gameplay and no third person. It was crap. Love the show, guys. Forza Motorsport will be great. I don't know. I saw a bunch of people saying it was really good. It looks really good, but so it had no gameplay and no third person. It was just all replays and all from the interior. Interesting. Let's see. BC says, who is the author of Nut on the Chess Man? What?
What the hell does that mean? What does it mean?
He wants to know who the author of your girlfriend's book is.
I don't know. I think it's a German author. Andy, who's the author of your book? Who's the author of the book you're reading, The Chestnut? Oh, it's a Danish author. I don't know. Google it. Not on the Chestnut. Andy says she can't even pronounce the guy's name.
Okay.
So yeah.
Flame says just buy Yoko Taro, the director of Nier. Nier was
didn't he leave? Didn't he leave Platinum?
He might have left Platinum. I don't know.
I off the top of my head, I kind of feel like I remember hearing about him leaving, but maybe I'm just imagining things.
Jeffy Grub says 200 people left my show to come watch this filth. Wow. I'm sorry, Jeff. We didn't mean to take 200 people away from you. You know, it's possible, Jeff, that they just tuned out because you were talking about Nintendo.
Jeff's a Nintendo fan, right?
Yeah, he's a Nintendo fan. I believe so, at least.
Yeah, we all know Rand.
They're probably
is the
just
biggest
like,
Nintendo
man,
fan.
Mike and Jeff are talking about Nintendo again, Pokemon. Let's go see what Rand and Jez are talking about. We don't need to hear this stuff.
Oh, man. Randall trolling.
Yeah.
Trolling.
Jake says, give me World of Warcraft and Hearthstone on Xbox, please. I think Jez would be right there with you. Dark.
Well, if they fix the game. It's not in the best shape it's been in, to be honest. But we'll have to wait and see.
Dark says, hi guys, great show as always. Can we expect any event before E3 from Xbox? Well, that's sort of the question. What do you think, Jez? An event for Xbox before whatever their E3 non-E3 show is, because there's no E3. I guess it's going to be Summer Games Fest E3 or Summer Games Fest Xbox show in partnership with Jeff Keighley, because now he owns everything in the video game industry. Not only, you know, we gave Jeff Keighley basically, he owns the game, like the game awards now, right? When people speak like game of the year, it's like whatever won it from his show. And now with E3 gone, he's going to own E3. He's going to be like, Jeff Keighley just is going to own it all.
Well, this is why Jeff Grubb needs to turn his Summer Games mess into an actual event.
He should. Yeah.
Do it, Jeff. Make Summer Games mess an actual show. Me and Rand will watch it, especially Rand.
I mean, I watch all Jeff's shows.
Yeah,
I lurk,
me too.
You know, because I want to be smart like Jeff. So I listen. I listen to what he says because he knows.
One day, when I grow up, I want to be Jeff Corden.
Yes,
that'll be me.
I want to grow up to also have my ivory tower, sit up top with my mega huge salary editor salary as well.
Yeah, fat editor salary.
Yeah. God's Hitman says, Jez, do you know what CD Projekt Red's 2 games are? Question mark.
I have no idea what CD Projekt Red is working on, I'm afraid. But hopefully it'll be cool, because CD Projekt Red make good stuff. And I will die on this hill that Cyberpunk was a great game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well. A lot of people disagree.
A lot of people do disagree. So, me and you both have been playing Dying Light 2.
Yes, we have.
How do you feel about it? Because Windows Central, someone else reviewed it for Windows Central, right?
No, I did.
Oh, you did. So how do you feel about Dying Light 2?
It was a weird one to review, because I never completed the original. I got bored of it playing through it, and I never finished it. And I kind of went into Dying Light 2 expecting like more of the same, although more of the same, and kind of feel like that's what we got. I think a lot of the stuff they advertised for the game, like I don't know, the expanded story features and all that kind of stuff, I feel like a lot of that didn't really pan out that well. And I felt like the story beats were probably the worst part of the game. I found myself just like tuning out when people were talking. I was just like, I can't even focus on what they're saying because it's just boring. And so I tried to make myself feel more positively about it by focusing on the gameplay. And the gameplay is pretty good. I enjoyed it a lot more than Ubisoft's open worlds. The nighttime gameplay, the high stakes of it, exploring stuff in the dark and having to use like a torch and all that kind of stuff. I really, really quite enjoyed it. And I sort of focused on that as the positive aspects of the game. But I still think overall it wasn't particularly great. And I don't know, I don't think I'll ever play it again. I've sort of dropped off, What do you think about it? Because you played it too.
Yeah, so I actually am enjoying what I played so far. I don't know how much, like, I don't know if I'll be enjoying it 30 hours from now, but I actually like Dying Light 1. I played it in co op with my friends. I know it didn't get the best reviews, but I had a good time, right? And as I'm playing this game, it has that thing, Jez, where you have the survivor sense where you click in the right stick and it like highlights things that you can pick up. I don't know what it is, but in open world games or in games where you have to craft and find stuff, like I am hitting that thing all the time. Because
Yeah,
I'm the type of person, it's like when I play an open world game, like I have to do everything. And I have to get everything. I have to get all the crafting items. So I spend a lot of time in different areas trying to find everything. But I think the progression, because you level up, and the more you like kill zombies with weapons, you'll level up, and then you have a skill tree for both your like weapon stuff, like your physical attacks, but then also a skill tree for your parkour stuff. And anytime you do the parkour stuff, you get points to it, and then when you complete missions, you'll get points. I do think you level up slow. Like
yeah, you do.
like the points and the skills that you unlock for the parkour stuff and the attacking like don't come as fast as I would want. With that said, I do think the parkour stuff is incredible. It's a lot of fun to get around the city, and it's really cool to use the parkour stuff against the enemies. It's so for me playing what I played so far, I'm really enjoying it, but I haven't hit that like thing where, because it's like this for me for every open world game, where I'm really enjoying it, and then I'll hit a wall at some point, right? And when I hit that wall, it's like, okay, I no longer want to search every area. I no longer want to do all the side quests. I just want to mainline the missions. I don't know if anybody else feels like it to me. Or feels the same way I do. But I don't know. Like I think I'm quite enjoying it. Some of the dialogue is kind of like I'm talking to the people in the church, and their dialogue's not the greatest. The story is kind of just there to move you from point A to point B. I mean, it's a typical open world. It's like they got a whole bunch of check marks, a whole bunch of things on the map to go and do. But I do think that like the core parkour combat stuff with like the how much harder it gets at night, it makes it more interesting. I'm
it does.
definitely not going to 100% the game because I don't really do that anymore unless it's a game I super enjoy. But as of right now, like I think it's better than Dying Light 1, which is good because you always want the next game to be improved upon. But I haven't played it in co-op yet. Have you played any co-op? Any
No,
co-op?
I haven't. And no, I couldn't. I couldn't during the preview program because obviously I didn't know anyone who had the game. And I couldn't. Do that by embargo because, like I said, I didn't know anyone who knew the game. And now, now that it's out, I just sort of put it down. I don't feel like playing it. But I do imagine that it's more fun in co-op. If you're someone who enjoys that kind of experience and stuff, because that is one thing that Dying Light always did really well was co-op. And they do say they've got plans to keep supporting the game for 5 years. I think they said they're going to put more content into the game and more reasons to play, and they supported Dying Light 1 really well. But Rand, one of the biggest disappointments for me was the performance. Like it's not. It's weird because Dying Light 1 was a very pretty game for its time, and it's sort of like it was one of the first games I played that made me feel like I'd gone from 360 to Xbox One. It was like, this looks much better on Xbox One, and like these kind of games, this kind of fidelity wouldn't be possible on the 360. But I feel the opposite about Dying Light 2. It's like it's ugly. It's like 1080p or something. It's 60 frames, and then if you put it into 4K mode, it lags to hell. And like it's supposedly 30 frames per second, but I had it drop really low some points, and also I had instances of screen tearing because I don't have FreeSync. So like I ended up just using it in performance mode all the time just to get the 60 frames and a smooth game. But man, the textures look really bad. The ground clutter and the grass look bad and all that kind of stuff. It just doesn't look pretty, you know. But it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal at the end of the day. I mean, I am playing Dark Souls Remastered right now, which is a 360 game. So, but I just, I don't know. I expect that they'll do some, you know, enhancements to the way it looks down the line as well, I guess.
I mean, I think it looks fine. Especially when you're looking out over the city during the day. They do have a nice color palette.
Yeah.
I mean, how many different modes were there for you? Because for me, there was performance, quality, and resolution I could choose from. I could choose between three modes.
Yeah, I could choose those modes, and like performance was the only one I felt was playable, you know. But I don't know. Maybe it's because I don't have FreeSync, and I really need a TV with FreeSync, I think.
Yeah, that's why I bought the CX.
Yeah.
Because I think Dying Light 2, if you have a TV with VRR, can run the game 120 or something. I remember reading 120 frames, maybe I'm wrong on that. I don't know. But yeah,
people in chat saying there's no HDR either. So.
Yeah, there is no HDR. I noticed that right away. You definitely notice that when anybody knows who has a LG is just like an OLED, because like the screen goes black and then it comes back. I hate when it does that.
Yeah, I hate that too.
Yeah, D's MCC says he's playing on his LG CX48 and 1080p looks horrific. You know, Guardians of the Galaxy was 1080p in performance mode, and that still looked really good. So I don't know. I haven't flipped between the different modes, quality and resolution, to see if there's any difference between the performance modes and the other ones. So Snowdragon doesn't think they have the VRR mode out yet. Okay, so it needs a patch for 120 hertz support. Okay, yeah, but I always pick performance mode, Jazz. I can't do 30 frames anymore, bro. It's just not happening. Give me all the frames.
Why not, bro? Why not? What's wrong with that? What's wrong with 30 frames, bro? Film it, bro.
It's horrible. Absolutely awful. So
what if Starfield is like? What if Bethesda comes out and they're like, because of the size of Starfield and the graphical quality, we can only hit 30 frames, and the game on Xbox
I'll be
Series X
disappointed if Starfield is 30 frames and there's no option for a performance mode for 60. I'll be disappointed.
Because that Matrix thing only had 30 frames, right? If I remember right.
Yes.
That Matrix demo.
Yes, the Matrix Awakens, I think, only had 30 frames. But no, I will be look, 60 frames is the standard for me now. I don't want to go below it anymore. And I know PC guys are listening to this, if they do listen to it, are probably like, 60 frames is a standard. It's all about 144, bro, or 240, bro, right? Or what have you. It's all about, right? But like for me, it's like, look, the baseline now for 60, we tolerated 30 frames per second last gen, and everybody knew it was awful. And then like it was when you got a game that was 60 frames, you were like, oh my god, it's manna from the heavens. And now we're basically at a state where 60 frames is at least an option in every single game. So if Starfield comes out and it's a next-gen only game, right? Only on Series X and S and PC, if that game is like, well, it's 4K 30 and that's it, and there's no performance mode, yeah, I'll be pretty damn disappointed. So they
Salty Rand.
I'm just saying, man. You know what? Let's ask the community that question. Would you be what would be disappointed if Starfield was only 30 FPS on Xbox Series X S? And we'll see what the community thinks, Jazz. We'll see. Shall we?
Sounds good. That sounds good to me.
Sounds good. And you know what is good? Well, I know what you say is not. You probably have a different opinion on this, but we got our first look of the Halo TV show, and also when it's finally actually coming out. What'd you think, Jez? What'd you think of the Halo TV show, that the trailer that aired during the I think the AFC Championship game? I know you're a lover of Halo. You're a lover of fine TV. So are you marking your calendar down for sometime in March, getting Paramount Plus to watch all the Halo goodness?
Well, first of all, I don't even know if I can get it where I am, because Paramount Plus in the UK is Sky, which is cable TV, and I don't even know if I can access it. So for me, Rand, I'm just sort of happy that Halo fans seem to be, receiving it positively. I don't care about Halo. I can't even pretend to care about Halo. It's just, I had some mild enjoyment with the multiplayer, but it faded pretty quickly, Rand, and I went back to my good old Battlefield 1 and a bit of Call of Duty here and there, but it looked all right, man. Like, as someone who doesn't care about Halo, I was actually thinking, like, actually, this looks pretty good. It looks like it looks authentic to my untrained eye.
Yeah.
But really, more importantly, like, what do you think of it? Because you're a Halo fan, and you're a literary, I don't know what you call it, a connoisseur, should we say, literary connoisseur. So, what do you think of it, Rand?
I don't know what I was expecting. Maybe my expectations were low, but when I watched that trailer, I'm like, this actually looks really good. Like, I actually want to watch this now. Like, not saying I wouldn't have watched it before, but now it's like, now I basically said to myself, thank God I'm using my buddy's Paramount Plus.
Right.
Yeah, I think Master Chief, I think the suit looks good. I have no problems with it not being Steve Downes. It's, of course it was not going to be Steve Downes. You don't get an actor just to play the body. You're going to have him do, stuff, right? So, yeah, I'm totally fine with that. I think the Warthogs and the drop ships, all that stuff looks really, really cool. Like, Chief fighting the elites. Like, the elites look really good, too. But then they showed Cortana.
What was wrong? What? Everyone was mad about Cortana. Can you explain to me why?
I don't know. She just did not. She just did not look good.
It's Jen Taylor though, isn't it?
She's doing the voice, but I don't think she's doing.
I think she.
I don't know. I don't know what
I
don't know what Jen Taylor looks like, so I don't know if that's actually her or not.
It is. That is Jen Taylor. I'm pretty sure that's Jen Taylor.
I'm just saying, pretty like, sure. Whatever. I don't know.
Check and clarify.
Whatever. Like,
everyone was mad that she wasn't blue. That's why people were mad. She just
looked bad. I don't know what other way to explain it. It just
because she was not blue. No, the outfit was wrong.
It was just like the face. It was the way the face was positioned with like the rest of her. It looked awful. Like, honestly, when I saw it, I was like, that looks really bad. But I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know how much of Jen Taylor we're actually going to be seeing. Like, how often is Cortana actually going to be seen and not just like a voice in Master Chief's head? But yeah, that's like my one complaint is the way Cortana looks. But maybe this is something I got to get over. Maybe it's just like, okay, this is the way she looks in the show. Whatever. The other thing was there's a human covenant now. There's like a human kid that's been like raised as part of the covenant, which is interesting. Well, also that the show is not canon at all, Jez. I don't know if you know that or not. Like, they've completely made, like, I think they call it like the silver screen or the silver age or something. And it's basically their way of saying, like, yeah, none of this is canon. It's not following the storyline of the games. Blah 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 blah. So,
okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm definitely gonna be watching it. So, I was kind of excited by how good it actually looked. We also got a another delay of a game, Jez. What do you?
Okay.
Suicide Squad delayed to
Oh, right.
2023.
I don't check that.
Yeah, Silver Timeline is what people are saying in chat.
Silver Timeline.
Midway Monster says Cortana looks good. Enough of this bogus outrage. Sir, my outrage is not bogus, because I don't know. People even said it looked bad. I watched it and I thought it looked bad. So
I don't know. She looked fine to me, to be honest. I was just like, oh, it's Cortana. I didn't think much beyond that. So I don't know.
So what do you think about Suicide Squad getting delayed?
Don't care. It's bad.
Of course you don't care. 'Cause
DC,
why would you care
the DC
about anything?
universe
Anything that's
lame.
not Elden Ring, you don't care about.
I don't like Rocksteady's games that much.
Have you even played any of Rocksteady's games?
I played all of them. I reviewed what's it called? I can't remember. It's called Arkham Knight. I reviewed that, and I didn't review the other two, but I thought the first one was really good. But then the other two were just bland open world games with loads of icons and trophies that you had to collect, and I was just like, nah, screw this. Didn't like it, man. So I think when it comes to Suicide Squad, I'm looking at it thinking it's going to be more of the same, Riddler trophies and all that crap. I'm not interested in it, man. But it's also not really a surprise, is it, that it got delayed? Really, is it? Were you surprised? I wasn't really surprised.
I mean, I'm not really surprised considering Gotham Knights is not out yet, and it probably isn't coming out to the fall, and they're definitely not going to release Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad within a couple months of each other. So, yeah. Man, chat's really giving it to me, Jez. They don't like the fact that I don't like Cortana, or I don't like the way she looks. So we've had a reversal of fortune here.
Reversal of fortune?
Well, reversal of fates. Well, no. Because a couple weeks ago, chat was going at you for for thinking that Call of Duty was going to remain on PlayStation forever. They were just giving you, reading you the riot act, man. You were not their friend, and I'm not their friend right now either.
I get it. Like, what would look? You've got to give me a good reason. What was wrong with her?
She just looks weird.
The outfit, not the
how she looks. It just looks weird.
The blue, the digital with the digital. Do you mean the digital effects on her?
Yeah, and the way the face is colored to the hair, it just looks weird.
So the color palette, because she's not blue. That's basically.
I don't need her to look like the blue that she's always looked like. It's just, I don't know, maybe it's the way it like is shot and the way the lighting is. It just looks looks weird, man. What else can I say? But yeah, Suicide Squad, it's not that surprising. I mean, maybe they could fix it, but it's not going to stop me from watching the show. And maybe, like I said, maybe I'll get used to it. But I do have to ask the question though. What is wrong with Warner Brothers games?
I have no idea, man.
Because
I think they've probably lost a lot of staff to other studios. It doesn't sound like they're in a great place. Like, Rocksteady hasn't put out a game for what, 50,000 years? Not exactly 50,000 years, but it's been a while. It's been a while. Do you ever listen to Stained?
I love Stained. Well, I used to love Stained. I used to listen to him all the time. There's something going on there because Rocksteady had been 8 years in between games and 9 years in between Warner Brothers Montreal game, and then most likely 7 years for Monolith. There's something up there. Even like a studio, Traveler's Tale, that normally put stuff out every single year, I think. The Skywalker Saga game is going on 4 or 5 years now. I do wonder if that has some sort, like, I know people were interested in studios, like EA was interested, Take-Two, Xbox, PlayStation. I do wonder if they were questioning, like, wait a minute, why is it taking all this time? why is Rocksteady's game? Because when you go back to last gen, like Rocksteady, even two gens ago, like the 360 is 2 gens ago at this point. Jesus. When they put out Batman Arkham Asylum and Arkham Knight, or Arkham City, and they're 2 of the highest rated games from the 360 gen, and they followed up with Arkham Knight in 2015, and then you don't see anything from them for 8 years? Like,
It is weird.
that is... I can't imagine that happening under PlayStation or Xbox. Well, I guess maybe it did happen with PlayStation with Last Guardian. But then, okay, maybe one studio is an outlier and there's something wrong there. But to have it essentially happen at a lot of the studios except for NetherRealm, I don't know. It maybe speaks to, like, management issues.
Yeah, it could do.
Maybe we do need to have Xbox save them, quote unquote. Have Microsoft buy WB Games so we can actually get them to make games in a,
Or not.
a good time.
Or not.
I'm totally down for WB Games. I know you wouldn't like it because you don't like good games. So
no, they don't make any games.
Well,
You literally just said yourself.
Well,
they
yeah, but
haven't made any games.
they haven't made anything recently. So
Forever.
yeah.
I think that is a big waste of money. What you want out of a studio is someone who can actually make games. And unfortunately, Rocksteady have showed they can't make games anymore. So yeah, I don't know.
Well, Jez,
I'm being mean, but
you're the poll is up and finished. 530 votes. 79% said yes, they would be disappointed if Starfield was only 30 frames. 21% said no.
Where's the Filmic fans at, man?
There are no more. Well, 29% of them.
Yep, man. I guess that's it. Filmic is over.
Yeah, it's dead.
The end of Filmic, bro.
Yeah, Flame in the super chat says, I appreciate them saying it's non-canon. It's a great heads up to lower up expectations for non-fans and for real fans to skip altogether. Hashtag not Baloo. And Andy Hart says, thoughts on Dying Light 2, Rand? Are you enjoying it? Yes, I am quite enjoying it where I'm at right now. So I'll probably finish the game this week, and I'll let you guys know my full thoughts. Because Jez basically stopped playing the game because it's too much Ubisoft. Ubisoft is basically Poison Jez. Or maybe Dark Souls is Poison Jez, one of the two.
Yeah. I mean, I just hate Ubisoft style open world games now. I just hate them. All of them. We were talking about it earlier. Like, I need open world games to be more dynamic. And which is why I was really happy with Halo Infinite, because like of all the physics interactions in Halo make it fun. Like you can do creative stuff, like you can throw barrels and they explode, and you get cascading explosions and all kinds of cool stuff going on. But in a lot of these games, they're just so scripted. They're just overly scripted, and you're sort of really limited on what you can actually do in the sandbox. So like you just sort of go from point to point doing boring stuff, and that's the whole game. And I'm just over that. I'm so over it. And I'm over it. Less of that, please. Thanks, devs.
Che says AT&T combined Warner's Media and Discovery. Maybe they sold the gaming division. I don't really think they could they? I don't think they could sell it until the merger was complete. And I don't think it's complete yet, is it?
I have no idea.
I mean,
no idea.
Maybe. You know, I asked you earlier. Well, we'll talk about this later. I'll bring it back up. But Fire Shadow says, "Hey Rand, off topic, but next time you get vertigo, try a turnpike maneuver to reset your inner ear. Was a quick fix for me in the military. Okay, we'll do next time. It won't.
That's the exercise I told you to do. Remember?
Yes. But it'll be a while before I get vertigo again. So, RDX Sunafets says 60 FPS is filmic, 30 is lethargic for Series S and X. Speaking of Halo again, since we're talking about the TV show, and I'm no longer going to mention what I think about Cortana because I don't want the chat get mad. Please don't hit. Well, I would say if you're upset or mad at me, you could hit the dislike button, but nobody's going to see it. So hit the like button instead.
Hit the
Um,
like button if you disagree with me.
yeah.
That's an interesting
Well, it's because
strategy.
you can't see the dislikes anymore, so it's like
That's true.
there's really no point in hitting dislike anymore. Which I guess is the reason they did it in the first place. But the Halo roadmap, Jez, a lot of people talking about this. They had said previously that there'd be a roadmap sometime in January, and then January came and went, and I believe Joseph Staten came out on Twitter and said they needed more time to basically figure out what the roadmap was going to be. So, how do you feel about... Because this also goes with, well, similar, but Battlefield 2042, their first season has been delayed till the summer. Halo's roadmap, the announcement of the roadmap and what's coming this year has been delayed, even though the actual season 2 hasn't been delayed yet. So, how are you feeling about this?
I think COVID's having a big impact on every studio right now, more so than a lot of them are willing to admit. And I've heard that plenty about 343, that they were uniquely impacted by COVID, and it sucks for fans of the game because it means they got to wait longer for content, right? But it's just what can you do? What can you do? Everyone's working from home still in Microsoft land, as far as I'm aware, or a lot of people are, and people are getting infected left, right, and center, which means again they have to work from home or stop working altogether because they're too ill, and we are sort of heading out of the pandemic now, I think. Loads of people are vaccinated, and we're heading into that phase of the pandemic where the virus becomes endemic, and we don't have to worry about it so much anymore. But at least for the interim, there's going to be this sort of, like, I don't know what you call it, like a crease, almost like a crease where for a while we're going to sort of see we're going to see loads of games struggle to get back on their feet for a little while, I think. But when it comes to Halo, it's just like how long can people hang on for new content? Because it didn't have a lot of content at launch. I felt like I got like very fed up with the like, how many big team battle maps are there? Like 2 or 3?
There's 3 big team battle maps. Yeah, there's 10 maps total. 3 big team battles, 7 regular ones, I believe.
Yeah, I didn't really play regular much, so I was only playing big team battle, and man, I was almost immediately fed up of those 3 maps or whatever in big team battle, because I don't really play arena very much. I didn't really like it that much. But when I'm trying to play, like, big team battle, and you sort of sometimes you end up on the same map like repeatedly, and I was just like, man, I'm just done with this now. Had enough of this shit, so I don't know.
You're just upset that Gears of War is not getting a TV show. That's what this all comes down to. Like, Gears of War isn't popular enough to, one, not get its own movie, and also not get its own TV show. It's just not at that level. That's what this all comes down to. Now we understand.
Wow.
That really bothers you, doesn't it? As a Gears of War fan...
It doesn't bother me,
yes,
really.
It does. I can tell it in your voice. When I tweeted that to you, you replied with the Anakin gif saying, "I hate you." And I felt that, man. I felt at that moment you truly hated me.
Wow.
Because I laughed at you.
Well, maybe you should be kind about that. Maybe.
Maybe Gears should just be a bigger franchise and would get a TV show.
Oh, man. Well, maybe it'd be a bigger franchise if Halo didn't soak up all the budget, spending 10 million billion pounds on a game that only had 3 maps. How about that? How about them apples? The Coalition would have made a bigger game. Coalition's literally been carrying the entire Xbox brand on its shoulders for so long.
Yeah.
Got a bad back from all this carrying it's been doing.
I'm not surprised the roadmap's been delayed. I do think they have a lot to fix at 343, or at least, big team battle was kind of broken for a while. I think launching the game in December really didn't help because everybody went on vacation and then things broke and nobody was really at the studio to fix it. So they come back and they have to fix things that they probably didn't plan on fixing, which probably put them behind on other stuff. So I think as long as the content comes when they say it's going to, like May comes and Season 2 is here and it's got co-op and it has a bunch of new maps. They need a bunch of new maps. Like they better have a whole bunch of new maps planned for May, because I can't imagine how pissed off Halo fans would feel if May rolls around and Season 2 is like just co-op and more cosmetics. I think people would be furious. So, but I mean, like,
furious.
That's the thing about these live service games is they constantly need more content, and
Yes, they do.
You know, when you think about it, what would it have been if they didn't delay it? It would be what? It'd be January, February, March. You would be getting Season 2 in March, so it would only be another month. But because they pushed it back, now it's like, man, another 3 more months before we get new maps and potentially new modes and stuff. The Battlefield thing is... The thing with Halo is the gameplay and everything at the core of Halo is so good, right? That the complaints that people have are... They just like, we just want more. Like, we want more maps to be able to play this amazing game on, right? And please don't maybe gouge us for all of our money. Like, we want to play this, but we need more. With Battlefield, the problem seems to be the game's just not good, period. Like, the game itself, nobody likes. So they have to go back and they have to fix that. And they're delaying the first season of content until summer. So now the people that do play and aren't getting anything new for a while, right? I hear it's almost impossible to get Hazard Zone matches now in Battlefield, which is unfortunate. And I think it's funny that you can delay the first season of content for a live service game like Battlefield, but you can't delay the launch of the game, right?
Yeah.
Like, the game has to launch because we got to have it out for the holidays. We got to hit our sales targets, the investors, but then you launch the game. Everybody who played it in the beta was like, yeah, I don't know, this game probably needs another 6 months in the oven, but you still put it out anyways. And then it underperforms to the point where the CEO doesn't even want to talk about it in the investor calls, won't even tell people how much it sold. It's like, if you had just not released the game, you wouldn't have ran into this problem. But of course they had to release the game. And now the first season's delayed, so it's like, I don't know what Battlefield's going to do to be able to get people to come back. Yeah, I think being $60 hurts in this world of free-to-play, but just making it free-to-play is not going to suddenly be like, all right, Battlefield's back on top. I think it's just one of those games where maybe it can have one of those, resurgence moments like Rainbow Six Siege or what have you, where it's like a game people liked it, but they didn't love it, and there was problems, and then they fixed it, and then people love it. It's just sad to see. The state that one of my favorite franchises has fallen to. And it's like, if you just would have listened to people, and delayed the game, it probably would have ended up being a lot better. But instead, you had to get that corporate greed, man. You had to release it, unfortunately. And this is what we ended up to.
Yeah. EA for you, man.
It's EA for you. Daniel in the super chat says, hello, Rand and Jez. First time catching the live show.
Hello.
Rand, have you heard of and read the Deathgate Cycle series by Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman? They also wrote the Dragonlance series. Keep up the great work. I've actually read both of those, believe it or not. I read those back in high school, or right out of college. But it's been a long, long time. I don't remember anything about the Deathgate Cycle or the Dragonlance series, but I have read both of those. So, Brett says, Rand, I have the high ground. Yeah, I do have the high ground over Jez when it comes to any of this stuff. So, yeah. Let's talk about this Bungie stuff.
Bungie.
There's a lot of stuff here, but I figured let's talk about this because this is interesting. So PlayStation bought Bungie for $3.6 billion, which then it came out that 1.2 billion of it is set aside for employee retention. Is this correct, Jez?
Yes. No, that's correct.
And the big thing, I guess, is the idea that Bungie is going to remain independent under Sony and that they are going to be able to still self-publish and put their games out wherever they wish. So we know Destiny 2 was never going to leave Xbox. The question's been, okay, what about their next game? Matter, or maybe potentially Destiny 3. But with the way they've talked about it in these interviews and everything, it seems like Bungie's like, no, we're going to be putting the games everywhere. So how do you feel about PlayStation buying Bungie? I know there's people out there like Michael Pachter saying that he felt Sony was a little bit desperate and he thinks they overpaid. How do you feel about this acquisition?
I think they potentially could overpay, but I think the way Sony's thinking of it is similarly to how Riot is building League of Legends to be this sort of this media property that can sort of exist across dimensions, basically. Like that's something Microsoft can't do. Like if Microsoft tried to make a TV show by itself, it'd be mega cringe. And they did kind of try and make a TV show by themselves for Quantum Break, and it didn't do that well, and a lot of people didn't like it, even though I thought it was quite good personally. But that's another discussion entirely. Sony's a bit different because Sony does make movies, and they've got like all this stuff for doing that kind of thing. But I think basically if they try and fail to make a show on Netflix, and they try and fail to make a movie and it sucks, and they could ultimately lose a lot of money on it. I mean, we saw it happen with Activision with the Warcraft movie. They spent a lot of money making a Warcraft movie, and it was a bit of a flop. I personally liked the Warcraft movie as well, and but most people didn't, and it was hard to watch if you're not a fan of the games, because it talked about all this lore and shit that you just wouldn't know unless you're a hardcore WoW player. But that's a completely separate subject. So, in summary, I think I agree with Michael Pachter that if they can't nail what the transmedia aspects of it look like, then yeah, they could go into a scenario where they're like, oh god, we paid way too much for this and none of this stuff's going to work, and that kind of thing. But I think there's also like a huge amount of potential there. I think like we've seen it with League of Legends right now. The Arcane TV show is blown up, and that's gonna push a halo effect over the game. And League of Legends, has probably got more players who never even thought to play League of Legends before, just because they love the TV show so much. I had a lot of people saying like, I never really liked League of Legends, but I really love the TV show, and that's ultimately what they're looking to do for Destiny, right? So I think it's worth more to Sony than Microsoft because of that part of it. Even though Microsoft is doing the TV show with Halo and stuff, it's not really in their DNA to do that kind of thing. And and the jury's out on whether or not that's even going to work for Microsoft. I think there's a pretty good chance that the Halo TV show ends up being a huge waste of money and time and effort, because how many years have they been on that shit? They've been on that shit for years and years and years, and there are even leaks to suggest that the focus on the TV show actually detracted from Halo Infinite. Do you remember that?
Yes.
That whole thing?
Yeah, I remember that.
Was that something that was public, or is that something that we were told in DM? I can't remember. But there was this rumor that the Halo TV show had taken up so much effort and time that it had sort of affected the development of the game, which is not what you want. You want them to complement each other, not detract from each other. And I think like Microsoft painted themselves in a corner where they'd spent so much money on this shit, they couldn't just kill it. They had to keep pressing ahead with it. But I don't know. I want to believe that Bungie will be better off for it. I want to believe that Sony didn't waste their money, and I want to believe that ultimately Destiny fans get a better game out of it, and I want to believe that Sony ends up getting benefits from it because a healthy industry is a good industry, right?
Yeah.
But
Are you surprised with the independence?
a little bit, but it just sort of it goes to show that how principled Bungie was. Like I presume that they were asking for similar things of Microsoft, presumably, and they were probably like, yeah, if we do this deal, these are our demands, and maybe there was even like a red line where they were like, we won't cross this line, and Microsoft was like, well, we want this stuff to be exclusive if we do this, and maybe Bungie was just like, nah, we're not doing that shit, we're not going exclusive, blah blah blah, or whatever. So it's interesting to think about, but ultimately we'll never really know because a lot of this stuff happens behind closed doors, right?
I'm not surprised about the independence thing. I think they're the only studio that could basically get what they wanted with this, and I would say that Bungie got everything they wanted out of this deal. They get somebody to fund their future, and they get to control where their future lies, essentially. Like, yeah, they're part of PlayStation, but they can put their games everywhere. They're essentially going to be PlayStation's Minecraft.
Yeah.
Right? And, they've talked about this in interviews, like, they're going to use the expertise that Bungie has at building a live service. I mean, say what you will about whether or not you like Bungie or not, but like it's really the only type of game out there it's a very unique game. There's really no other game like it, right?
No, there isn't.
And I think part of the reason Sony was willing to pay $3.6 billion is because maybe there was a little bit of shock when Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard. And it seems like literally every company seems to be on the selling block, right? So they're like, okay, let's wrap this deal up. It's been like 7 months. We've been talking to for a while. Let's just close it. And Bungie makes out like a bandit. They get all the money they want. They get the retention money for their employees, which is great for them, right? They get full control of full creative independence. They get to put their games everywhere. And there's part of me that thought to myself, what if this was Xbox? What if Xbox bought them and they said they were going to remain independent? Would Xbox fans be upset? Like, I don't know, let me ask the chat here. If the shoe was on the other foot and Microsoft had purchased Bungie and they came out and said, hey, Bungie's going to remain independent, kind of like Mojang is, and Bungie's going to remain and basically put out their games everywhere, would Xbox fans be okay with that? Because I've seen certain PlayStation fans are, they're not okay with this, right? Oh, you spend this amount of money and you can't even get exclusivity. And that was the big thing with Bethesda, was the whole thing was, are the games going to be exclusive or are they not? And people were making arguments for either or. So yeah. I'm kind of curious how most people would think. And I do...
It's not a poll, bro.
Yeah, maybe I should make a poll. Create a poll. Nah, actually I don't want to make a poll. I'm just kind of looking at people. Some are saying yes and some are saying no. So yeah, it wasn't shocking. It wasn't shocking. What was shocking to see was how many people thought that Bungie owned Halo.
Yes. Oh
right?
my god.
How many people
show you the mind share that company has?
Yeah, and how many people were like, "Oh my god," right?
Yeah. That is funny.
Like,
that is funny.
How many people were like, "Oh my god, Halo's gonna be on PlayStation 5," right? So, yeah, for me, it's just like, look, I don't care about Destiny, so they could remove the game for Xbox. I wouldn't care. But I know I have tons of friends on here who do, so I'm happy that the game's going to stay on Xbox, and it sounds like it's going to be better for it. And yeah, after Destiny, like, I really, really don't care that much about their next IP, right? at all.
No.
Like, I don't know. Like, I'm that kind of disenfranchised with what Bungie has done. But hey, like, I think it's cool that they got their independence, that they were able to negotiate that into their into their deal with PlayStation. I think that's really cool. Okay, people want a poll. Okay, I guess I'll make a poll. How do I even begin this question? If Xbox had bought Bungie, would you be okay with their games not being exclusive?
Use your words, Ron.
Well, it doesn't help that you're just playing Dark Souls.
How do you know I'm playing Dark Souls?
Because you're always playing Dark Souls. I can hear you slapping on the sticks.
I might be playing some other game.
You're not playing any other game. You don't like video games anymore. If they're not Dark Souls, you don't care. So, the interesting thing about all this is essentially that Sony had come out and said, hey, we're going to be making and putting out 10 live service games between now and 2026.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. And it's almost kind of like a reversal of... It's like a reversal of what Xbox and PlayStation have been doing for a while. Like, PlayStation was strictly about first-party games, or strictly about single-player-only games, and they let the third parties basically cover the multiplayer aspect, right? Yes. Microsoft was kind of mostly about games that had a multiplayer component, right? Even though, Gears had a single-player and stuff, like, they had a multiplayer, had co-op. Xbox was definitely more focused on live service games. Yeah. And with the purchase of Bethesda, you could say, like, well, it seems like they're kind of moving more in a direction of creating single-player content, right? Or at least more single-player content than they were making, but also still making games as a service that they already were doing. So, I don't know. What does that say? What does that say to you about how Sony views the future, though, Jez? Where last gen, the future, at least what they envisioned was single player. This is how we're going to sell PlayStation. Where now they're essentially being like, we can't let third parties rule the roost. We need to make our own live service instead of.
Well, that's just it, isn't it? Sony were basically, what Sony was doing was, they were saying to third parties, they were saying, like, we won't compete with your service games, and we'll focus on bringing people into the platform with more niche games that will create a FOMO effect. Microsoft turned that whole strategy on its head because they were just like, well, we're just going to buy the third-party games then. We're going to buy all the games that you aren't making, we're going to buy. And Sony had been they'd been pretty sneaky, or well, I say sneaky, but they've been pretty clever and tactical about the kinds of games they were exploring for exclusivity. Like they created we talked about it before. They created a chilling effect over genres like fighting games and also JRPGs, because there is a perception now that if you want those kind of games, you have to be on PlayStation, and that's to Sony's credit. They really, really worked hard to make, to create that perception about Xbox that it was missing all these games through FOMO. But Microsoft's just been like, yeah, well, money, we'll just buy everything. Now what? So Sony's having to change tack, and they're having to think, well, if we're losing control of some of these third-party games, from big players like Bethesda who have like huge fan bases. Bethesda has a very, very fan-oriented audience. So does Blizzard. And obviously Call of Duty is supposedly staying multi-platform, but there's going to be exclusive aspects, I think, about Call of Duty on Xbox and stuff in the future potentially. So Sony's having to change tactic and sort of try and find out a way to meet Xbox in the middle And that means like building their own service games. It also means that they've got to explore, catering for the niches they're potentially losing. They're probably going to lose all of the Creation Engine games. They're going to lose Fallout 5 whenever that comes out in the next decade. They're going to lose Elder Scrolls 6 probably. And those, I think it's pretty much certain that those games go exclusive. Like Elder Scrolls goes exclusive and all that stuff. Because Microsoft will argue that, they aren't a ritual. It's not like I said before, like Call of Duty is a ritual and Minecraft's a ritual, but
you
Elder
say
Scrolls
that,
isn't
but
really a ritual.
Satya Nadella came out and said, he doesn't think they need to be make any concessions for the deal at all yesterday in that interview.
Yeah, I don't think they do need to make concessions because they're third. But I also think
take Call of Duty away. Xbox
that's not
baby.
Nah, I don't think that's gonna happen. But even if it does, we still got Minecraft on multiple platforms and that kind of stuff. And I honestly don't think they'll remove COD because, like Destiny, they want it to be this big media property that is a ritual. And I don't think you make COD exclusive when you can't even sell consoles because you can't even get any chips. So I don't think 2023 COD will be exclusive, and I don't think 2024 COD will be exclusive.
We already know 2023 COD isn't. They announced that Infinity Ward's making this year's Call of Duty. They also said during the financial report that they saw a decline in Vanguard sales as well as a decline in engagement within Warzone, right?
Oh no, not me engagement.
Yeah,
no.
That's going down. So the one thing I do say is I find it, I want to say funny, but more like what PlayStation is doing is almost exactly what Phil started to do back in 2016. And it's like they basically Sony's been basically just doing what they're doing, but at a slower pace, right? PC games, Microsoft putting all their games on PC. Even they do it day one, but Sony isn't yet. Now Sony we see is basically going to put everything on PC. Microsoft started acquiring. I know that Sony's then started acquiring it, but Microsoft clearly needed to acquire more because they needed it, right? The push for subscription service like Game Pass, that is kind of. They started that 2017. Now you got Spartacus coming now in essentially 2022. Like the whole cross-play thing, even though they both were doing it, Microsoft and Phil were very upfront about it to the point where like people were giving Matt Booty and Phil shit. Like, how dare you? And it's like, we're going to support cross-gen for a couple years. And then PlayStation, like, they felt they couldn't say that. They felt they couldn't say they were going to be cross-gen games for a couple years. And now live service stuff that Xbox has been doing forever. Your Halos and your Sea of Thieves, your State of Decays, your Minecrafts, your Gearses, right? Your Forzas. And now it's like, yeah, we're making live service games too. It almost seems like there's the strategy that Phil kind of laid out or what they were going to do. And it's just, I don't know, it sort of feels like Sony just was following. Is like, we're going to basically do the same thing, but we're going to do it at a slower pace. Doesn't it?
It does feel like that, yeah. But the thing is, Microsoft had the money to really push this strategy because, they didn't have to do a balancing act because Xbox is a small part of Microsoft's overall business. It gives them the freedom to sort of waste money potentially, and I'm not saying they are wasting money, but I'm saying like they don't have to be as obsessively careful as PlayStation often is, but they sort of suckered PlayStation into a full sense of complacency again, which is funny because it's sort of like history repeating itself. Sony got complacent and they didn't think they'd ever need service games because they thought, well, we're the home of COD, we're the home of all this. They created like we're the home of Destiny by making loads of stuff exclusive to PlayStation version of Destiny for ages. and they drove that. We can just use the heavy lifting of third parties, and Microsoft did that in the 360 gen. Do you remember?
Yes.
They relied heavily on third parties, and it bit them in the ass. And now it's biting Sony in the ass in a sort of roundabout way. So, it's funny the way the industry evolves, and obviously people want to make money without having to spend money, but Microsoft's forcing them to spend money, and ultimately, hopefully, it'll be the better for everyone who's a gamer at the end of the day. If both companies are working hard for our money, that's what you want, really. We want Sony and Microsoft working hard, competing for our money, and that's what we want. And I think that's what we get.
That is what we want. Brett says in the super chat, a bad take. Bungie is a throwaway. We got Halo. I mean, I think Bungie's incredibly talented. There's a reason they got 3.6 billion and Insomniac only got 250 million. I mean, think about that, Jez. Insomniac got 250 million. Insomniac sold too early. They did. I was talking to a buddy of mine. Like, you look at all this acquisition stuff. You could even make the argument Bethesda sold too early. Like, what would Bethesda be worth right now? The value of all these companies is just through the roof. Like, we even just saw a Saudi prince just invested $1 billion into Capcom, and what was the other company? Was it NetEase, right? Nexon, right? Why do you think he's investing $1 billion into these companies?
He knows they're going to sell.
He probably thinks they're going to sell at some point. And he's going to make a return on his investment, essentially. Or, so you essentially have all these companies wanting to sell because you have all the other bigger companies wanting to buy. And I just kind of like, okay, Bungie, you did it, man. You probably sold at the highest you're ever going to be worth, because who knows if your next IP is going to be big. So, like, you sold at the best time. But then you're like, man, Insomniac, who's been carrying the PlayStation with Spider-Man, Miles Morales, they got Wolverine coming, they got Spider-Man 2 coming, right? Rumored multiplayer game coming from them as well. And they sold for $250 million in 2019. And you just wonder, it's like, man, you should have waited. Because if you waited and you were still independent right now, how much could you get right now? $1 billion? 500 million? It probably at least double. And the problem with Insomniac is they didn't own any successful IP. And I know people are going to be like, Sunset Overdrive was great. Yes, Sunset Overdrive was great, but it wasn't successful. And that's part of what you're buying with Bungie is you're buying the IP, and then you're also buying the talent with the retention. And even still, like Respawn, how long ago did EA buy Respawn for? What was that 2020?
Oh, a long time ago.
They bought them for like $450 million, right?
That was a good investment.
It was a good investment. I mean, so is the Insomniac one, but like even now, it's like, how much would Respawn go for now? It's right. So it's like video game companies. Let me ask you this, because one of the topics here is like future Xbox, PlayStation acquisitions. And I asked you earlier, and you told me that you thought every company was available to be bought right now. Like every company was looking to sell, like all of them, right?
Pretty much.
So you honestly do think like Take-Two is looking to sell, Capcom's looking to sell, Sega's looking to sell, like everybody's looking to sell.
Yeah, I think that.
So if you're put your shoes, imagine you're Jim Ryan, right? You're running PlayStation. What is the next move that you make?
I would buy Square or Take-Two.
You could buy Square or Take-Two? Okay.
I don't think, can they raise, but the question is, can they raise the capital for someone like Take-Two? Like Take-Two would be expensive. They just spent $12 billion on a bloody mobile game company. So like, Take-Two is looking for like, one of the big companies to buy them out. Maybe like a transmedia company like AT&T and shit like that, even though they're trying to get out of it. But I just mean a company like that, It's an interesting time to be in gaming. It really is.
So you think if you're Jim Ryan, you're buying Square Enix. Are you buying... Because I would think, okay, you'd buy the people that you're close to. Like they bought Housemarque, they bought Blue Point. I think maybe Ember Lab, the people that did Kenna, because they basically like set their whole fall to that game. So it's like, and that game seemed to do very well. So it's like indie developer, you could probably get them on the cheaper side. Maybe you buy them. There were rumors for a while. I think Arc System Works, Sony was in negotiation with. I mean,
What do they make? They make fighting
I think
games,
they make
right?
Guilty Gear,
Guilty Gear, yeah.
which makes sense. You know, they own
Supposedly pretty
Evo.
good game.
So, that's the thing. It's like, I don't think anything's off the table anymore. After this week, I don't think anything's off the table. Someone could tell me Sony might buy Capcom. I'd be like, yeah, probably. Or Sony might buy, EA. I'd be like, okay, sure. The same thing with Microsoft. I think anything's on the table for Microsoft. Maybe not right now, this second, because of the Activision deal. But let me ask you this question. Okay. Assuming the Xbox Activision deal goes through next year sometime, do you think Microsoft then pursues another publisher afterwards?
Yeah, I think they will. I think after they've purchased Activision, I think they'll look to fill the remaining gaps. And I think that is a high quality mobile developer who can convert Halo and Gears and all that stuff into quality mobile games. Because right now there isn't really many studios that can do that. You've got like Tencent and NetEase, basically. They're making all of Blizzard's, because even Blizzard can't do that in-house. So for whatever reason, there aren't many Western devs who make high-quality mobile games. There's a lot of devs who make casual games like your Candy Crush and stuff like that, but I don't know, like high-quality mobile games with good graphics and like, that people actually want to play. There's just not that many of them. I don't know why.
There's a new Phil interview out at Axios, which I think is Stephen Totillo's website.
Axios.
Yeah. Which I don't really like the layout and how they do the bullet point stuff. Like, I'm not really a fan of how they do this stuff. But interestingly, there's a quote here from Phil, the article says, Spencer maintains that Microsoft's bid was greatly influenced by the completion of the company's $7.5 billion ZeniMax Bethesda gaming deal in early 2021. Quote, the board of Microsoft, on the day that we got approval for ZeniMax, asked, what was next? And the constant conversation had always been about mobile and casual.
Yes, I think mobile is an area they still need to pursue. Like, mobile is obviously huge, it's massive, and they're still not, even with King, they're not really making a huge dent. King is a one-trick pony. They have Candy Crush, and like their other games aren't that big. And Microsoft has a lot of IP that has a huge amount of potential to be big on mobile. They just don't really have a dev who can handle it. So I think that they will definitely explore buying a big high-quality mobile publisher in the future. Who that'll be, I have no idea. But I think that's what's next. And I also think Japanese studio, someone that can become Xbox Japan. I think that is another aspect that they need to solve. And Phil's listening to the fans ultimately. Everyone's saying they want Japanese stuff, and they even like Japanese Xbox fans, and there are a few of them out there. They want to see more commitment from Microsoft. And how do you commit? You buy a big publisher like Sega or Capcom, and then you promote the CEO of Capcom to become the CEO of Microsoft Gaming Japan or something like that. And that's how you do it. And you keep Capcom as a separate label underneath Microsoft Gaming Japan. That's how you do it. And I think they will. I think that is what's next for some of this stuff.
It's interesting that he said that the Microsoft executive team was like, okay, what's next?
I think that tells you everything you need to know, really.
Yeah, like they wanted more, and that the conversation was around casual and mobile, and they got that with casual and mobile with King, and maybe even with Toys for Bob. So, like, Satya wasn't kidding when he said that they were all in on gaming. So I'm with Jez here. Like, I think here's the thing. I don't think Microsoft is going to buy anybody between now and when the deal closes. Maybe an individual. Can I speak? Maybe an individual developer like an
Who's your
IO
workman?
Interactive or Crystal Dynamics or something, they might be able to pull. Because I don't think it was like, okay, you're just buying a developer, whatever. I don't think to buy a publisher between now and then. However, I agree with Jez. I think what the Activision Blizzard is done, and they start integrating those teams and see how it goes, I do think they'll at least attempt to buy another publisher in the future. 100%.
Yeah.
And maybe that's
I
where it
hope-
ends. Because,
please.
well, yeah, because it's like, okay, you got Bethesda, you got Activision. What's left to fill? If you got your mobile play, like what else do you still have to do? You have these other teams that you're working with in global publishing. Do you like how Crystal Dynamics is working on Perfect Dark? Would you like to work with them in the future? Okay, you go to Square. What about IO? How's Project Dragon coming along? Can you convince them that it would be better for them to join you in the future? Right? Maybe even get them the Hitman IP from Square, even though there's still debate about who actually owns the Hitman IP, right? Is it Square? Is it IO? Avalanche. How's Contraband coming along? Like, there's a lot of things here. Asobo, right? Everybody wants them to get Asobo. Plague's Tale's really good. Their work on Microsoft Flight Sim. It's like they could essentially close those deals very much like how Sony's closed some of those. But I do think neither of these companies are done. Nintendo's come out and said they're done though, or they're not gonna engage in that. And do they have to? They just broke 100 million Switches sold, right? Did you see the list of the first party games? Like 43 million copies of Mario Kart 8 have been sold, and like 37 million copies of Animal Crossing.
I don't get that shit, man. Like what? I don't get it. I really don't get it. I don't get it.
They're like
how?
immune. I don't know, man. They're Nintendo.
How do
They're
they do
immune
it?
to this stuff. It's crazy. Like,
Like have you seen Pokemon Legends?
what
Like
the new game,
way-
the new
way it
Pokemon game?
looks. There is just no way in hell Sony or Microsoft or anyone would get away with putting a game out that looks like Pokemon Legends with those graphics, and they get away with it. Like, there's no way they get away with it in a million years. You'd see like reviewers saying like, "Oh, 5 out of 10 worst graphics I've ever seen," And I ain't someone who like cares that much about graphics, but the art style's not even good. It looks like an indie game,
Mm.
and they just get away with it every single time because it's Pokemon.
It's
And
Nintendo, man.
Nostalgia's a drug, man. It's a drug.
People just love Nintendo. It's crazy. Like people talk about Forzas and the Halos and the God of Wars and the Last of Us, but they don't come anywhere close to what Nintendo. And the thing is, Nintendo games never go on sale either, ever.
No,
They're
don't.
always like full price, and people buy them at full price. It's absolutely crazy. But poll's been up for 20 minutes. If Xbox had bought Bungie, would you be okay with their games not being exclusive? And 69% said yes. So 70-30. 70% people saying that they would be okay with it not being exclusive. Chinaka says, why is Hideki Kamiya calling anyone not speaking Japanese insects? I haven't seen that.
He's just trolling.
Yeah, well, hopefully he's trolling. What else we got here? Let me see. Aquaman says, will future Sony first-party games release on PC? I think so.
Yes.
And Jez does too. I mean, read the interview with Jim Ryan and Pete Parsons. I mean, they're pretty clear on their future plans. Andre S. Silva says, COD on PS5, PC ports coming to Xbox as well. Go. What do you think of the idea of that? Some people said this is going to be Sony's bargaining chip to keep COD on PlayStation, where it's like
Destiny.
Yeah, did you see some people throw that out there? Like, oh, we'll keep Destiny on Xbox if you keep COD on PlayStation. Like Destiny is anywhere close to the impact that Call of Duty is.
I mean, it's not close, but I think Microsoft still wouldn't want to lose it, especially Phil. Phil likes Destiny.
Well, that is true. Phil really does like Destiny. That 100% is, and I just think like the idea that Destiny is even on the same level as Call of Duty is just kind of laughable because it's nowhere close.
The thing about Destiny is that it doesn't monetize very well because you don't have to buy any of the microtransactions. They're all cosmetic because people won't accept anything that isn't cosmetic from Destiny. And cosmetics are fine, but people don't buy them really, or not in any sort of level of abundance. People buy loot boxes because they get addicted to the potential to get an item, like the whole gambling thing. It's the same reason people buy Pokemon card packs. There's like a weird psychological tick there, but like direct purchase of cosmetics, like it's not great monetization. It's pretty bad. So all Destiny does to monetize really is expansions, But like every Destiny expansion I've played has not been particularly great. I don't know. You have to be like a certain kind of person to play Destiny, but it's just it's nowhere near as big as Call of Duty. Of course it's not.
Let's see. What else we got here? Morgan in the super chat says, "Folks will say Konami, but Konami makes lots of non-gaming products that Microsoft wouldn't want. If they were to make a swing at Konami purely for the IPs, how much do you guys guess that might run?" Konami is not worth what they're worth. Konami, they don't like, you literally would be only buying the IP. They don't make any games. They don't have any developers anymore.
No, I don't. Actually, I got a press release from Konami this morning about some update for Power Pro Evolution Soccer, and I was just like, man, this is like the lamest press release I've ever got. Yeah. It's probably the worst press release I've ever got. Update for a dead game no one cares about.
I mean, man. I know why people want somebody to buy Konami, because they want to see Metal Gear come back, and they want to see Silent Hill come back, and they want to see Castlevania come back, right? Yeah. But you would essentially be buying just the IPs, and then you would have to find developers to make it, because they don't have any Konami just does a bunch of what are those gambling machines in Japan called? Pachinko machines. So, and they're actually doing quite well. So like, it would actually probably cost quite a bit. So
maybe they just sell their IP, and then you can like give Castlevania to, I don't know, the Coalition.
Would they sell their IP? What would they make? What would they use in their pachinkos? Or would they be like, we can use the IPs in pachinkos, and you can make game, like, you just be able, why buy the IP? Just make a deal with them. Just
I don't know.
Do a partnership. You wouldn't have to buy them.
If you made a deal, you'd have to pay royalties, and that'd eat into the ongoing revenue. I don't know.
Yeah, I suppose. Smelly Wrestling Geek says Square makes the most sense for Sony. They are already deeply involved with them, and they have games as a service model in place. I mean, yeah, if they work really closely with them, so I wouldn't be surprised if they bought Square. Would not be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they bought Capcom. Honestly, although EA, Jez, in their last investors call, says they're not looking to be acquired. They're essentially looking to acquire.
Yeah,
so
everyone's got a price.
Everybody has a price.
Although, you never know what happened. Maybe EA will have its own scandal, like Activision created their share price, and then they have no choice. Microsoft offers them a deal they can't refuse because it's the only exit that the investors are going to get. The share price for Activision would still be completely dead if it wasn't for this acquisition. So this is the only way that investors at Activision are going to get a return, which is why the FTC is not going to block it. They're not going to block that shit because all they care about is money, and this is ultimately the only way they're investors, powerful investors who donate to politicians. It's the only way they're getting a return on the money they've invested in Activision over the years.
What if a politician wants to make a name for himself and goes hard against this?
You can't beat money. You can't beat money. Like there's plenty of politicians in Washington who like try and fight against the system, but they just can't. Money is too powerful. Money is God, man.
Money is
especially
God.
In America.
Yeah. RS Feud in the super chat says, "Chilling in the bath with the beer. Enjoy that visual." Oh, jeez. Also, do you think Xbox should knuckle down with what they have, or do they need more content? Always need more, baby. Always need more, because you never know. Some projects may not go as smoothly as you think. I mean, look at Everwild. Everwild was one of the first next-gen games Xbox announced. They announced it back in 2019, and that game's running into problems. Who knows, one, if when it will release, or two, if it will ever release at all. And then you have, stuff from third parties like Contraband. You don't necessarily know how things are going to progress. So you can't ever be happy. Well, I think there's a point where you can get to where you have enough content in development, but I think you could always have more. I guess it's like, does Microsoft really need a Monster Hunter clone in development? Probably not. But you know what? Damn it, they're gonna make one anyways, right? Do they need a 4X simulation game in development? Probably not. But they're gonna do it because they've probably seen the success of City Skylines on the service, right?
Nah, City Skylines not 4X.
Whatever the hell 4X is, whatever.
Civ is 4X,
Civ, right? So it's last generation or 2 generations ago, Xbox would have relied on, third parties to make this stuff, and now it's just like, well, no, we're gonna do it ourselves. So I think this is the best way. It reminds me a lot of Netflix, because when Netflix first came around, they licensed content from everybody. And then everybody was like, well, wait a minute, you're making all this money and we're not. We're going to make our own streaming services. So Netflix knew this was going to happen. So they basically had to start making their own content. And I think that's basically what Xbox had realized all along, was like, yeah, it's one thing to be able to like get Monster Hunter from Capcom and Game Pass. But one, it's going to cost so much money to be able to get that game, and we could probably never get it day one. So let's just make our own Monster Hunter. Granted, it probably won't be as good because it won't have the the name appeal, the worldwide appeal that Monster already has. But you get like the idea of what they're going for. Like, let's just do our own thing. So
yeah.
But yes, more content, please. Always more content.
What game do you want to see them make? What game are you missing right now?
From Xbox?
Yeah. Genre or whatever.
Genre. So, all right. I'm gonna say this for my friends in the chat. I actually kind of would love to see people that want JRPGs to come back. So a Lost Odyssey 2 or a Blue Dragon 2. Right? Because for the most part, I'm good with what Xbox is making. Would I love another Ori? Yes. But there are definitely fans of franchises like Banjo that I wouldn't care if they came back, but I know that there are people who watch our shows who love and would be really happy if Banjo came back, or if Microsoft started making like JRPGs from legendary, Japanese studios. And if I don't know about you, but when I see other people happy, it sort of kind of makes me happy too. Right?
Yeah, it depends on the person.
Well, sure, it depends on the person if they're assholes or not. So like, I know there's a whole bunch of people that are like, hey, Lost Odyssey 2 came back. That make us so happy. I would, that would make me happy that those people were happy. I don't know. I pretty much have everything. You got your Hellblade. You got Obsidian doing what they're doing. I'm a big fan of Arcane. They're gonna do what they do. I do like Call of Duty campaigns, and we're gonna continue to get those. Like I don't know. Like I'm pretty much happy, really happy with how this is all played out. So. Yeah, no, I mean, like, I don't really have one on the top of my head that I could be like, I guess the one I could say, which, maybe one of those quote unquote Sony style experiences, that a lot of people point to, but I do think we'll get with like Hellblade 2 and stuff, and maybe even a lesser extent like Compulsion's game, because I do think God of War is one of the best games from last generation. And yeah, I would love to see a Microsoft studio make something on that level, of that caliber. But I've always been about like, create what you want as long as it's really good. I don't care if it's indie. I don't care if it's double A. I don't care if it's triple A in nature. Like, all I care about is damn good games, quality games. So, you know, what about you? What would you want?
I would want. I know you're not a big, huge fan of Gears, but I really want to see one more Gears that really pushes it to the next level. Get all the update all the animations, go all out, big budget, really show the potential that Gears can reach if you sort of, instead of rushing out in 2 years or whatever because Xbox has no other content, leave it in the oven for 4 years. See what happens when you actually really invest in the franchise and, add loads of systems and, take it to the next level. I want to see that out of Gears. But also, like, I think Lost Odyssey 2 is a good pick from you. Like, JRPGs, there's not that many on Xbox, and a lot of the big ones are missing because of reasons. We talk about all the time. We talk about Persona missing and stuff like that. So maybe Microsoft should just try and make its own. But there's loads of like dormant IP I want to see come back. I want to see Hexen come back. I want to see id make a new Hexen. I want to see. It's just so much potential. I want to see StarCraft come back. I want to see StarCraft Ghost come back. I want to see StarCraft expand as a franchise. I want to see just tons of stuff, really. I want to see a Souls-like. Maybe they should make a Souls-like.
Yeah. They should hire From Software to make a Souls-like. Malice in the Super Chat says, can't wait 18 months for Activision Blizzard to close. In my opinion, gotta buy. Yeah, we gotta wait. It's like we gotta wait to 18 months before you can actually buy again. Let's see here. We got some more here. If I can just get to them. We have Slow-Mo back again. He says it's not a JRPG, but it's turn-based. Echo Generation and Game Pass is actually pretty good. I'm enjoying it so far. Yeah,
yeah, it's on my playlist, and I still haven't gotten around to it yet.
Mouse says Rand altruistic. Hey, I'm just looking out for my peeps. I know people want Lost Odyssey 2 or Banjo, and I'd be happy if those people would be happy. Carlos says we need a fighting game studio or publisher. Yeah, maybe they should. I mean, that was the whole thing with Warner Brothers. Like, you get NetherRealm, you got your fighting studio. Because what would happen if Sony get them? Like, because there's rumors that Sony might have Street Fighter 6 as an exclusive again, and then if they buy Arc, right, they have Guilty Gear, and then like they would just own the fighting game genre once again. William says PlayStation is likely buying their partners Deviation, Firewalk, Ember Lab, Arc System Works. For publishers, they are most likely buying Capcom and From Software. They don't need to buy Square Enix because exclusive deals. True.
From Software is not independent though, are they?
No, they're owned by a parent company. I could see Sony trying to get From Software and I can see the company, I can see the name of the company, and I know I'm going to say it. It begins with a K. It's like Katasoa or something like that. They're the parent company of From Software. I could actually see Sony trying to buy them from that, much like how I think Xbox will buy Crystal Dynamics from Square. So... Face says, when it comes to acquisitions, Microsoft will not buy anything until the Activision Blizzard deal is done. Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I don't think they'll buy a publisher in between then, but I think they could, if they needed to move on it, they could make an individual purchase, like an IO Interactive, just a individual developer. I don't think that would shake the waters. So... and keep in mind, with this whole Xbox Monopoly stuff, right, that Satya Nadella had to come out and kind of argue against, and even Phil, Xbox being like third place, essentially, even after this goes through, like Sony is market leader. So if Sony buys somebody, wouldn't the eyes be on them a lot more? Because like even buying $70 billion of Activision, they only get up to third. Sony's is like already like higher, so if they go buy somebody bigger, does are they going to be looked at well, then they let the whole anime stuff pass with Crunchyroll, and that's basically a monopoly. So Maybe none of this really matters, Jez, right? Maybe everything will just keep on going.
Yeah. I tell you one thing, if Sony bought From Software, I would buy one of the scalper PlayStations, man. I'd drop $700 on a PlayStation. So
You would? You wouldn't just wait for the game to come out? Would you'd buy it immediately?
I mean, yeah, probably. I mean, I want to play Bloodborne already.
Yeah, hopefully maybe Bloodborne comes to PC and you can play it there.
You know what, Rand? I was trying recently to subscribe to PlayStation Now.
Really?
I was thinking, you know what? I'll play Bloodborne on PlayStation Now because it's on there. Bloodborne's on PlayStation Now, so that's how I can get it on PC. But for whatever reason, I can't get a security code, so I can't actually sign in to play PlayStation Now because Sony's systems don't work properly, apparently.
Mika says Take-Two would give Microsoft Zynga casual and mobile covered. Would also give them Grand Theft Auto, which, by the way, Grand Theft Auto 6 was announced today, Jez. Out of nowhere. In a tweet.
It's not Grand Theft Auto 6, though, is it?
I mean, they pretty much said it's the next version of Grand Theft Auto. I mean, what
if it's Grand Theft Auto Online 2? I
mean, I'm sure there'll be a version of Grand Theft Auto Online. This was Grand Theft Auto 6 they announced, Jez. Stop it.
Mm-hmm. I think there might not be a single player component this time, man.
You're wrong.
I think it might just be Grand Theft Auto Online 2, and there won't be any.
See, you're just trolling now. You're just trolling now. You're wrong.
What?
You're just trolling.
What do you mean? What do you mean trolling? I would never troll.
Yes.
I never, ever troll, and yeah, I don't think there's going to be any. There's going to be any.
Jez, you don't really believe that, so stop it.
I would not be surprised.
I would.
I honestly would not be surprised.
I would.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's some kind of like halfway sort of like it's
sure.
Like, yeah, there's a single player campaign, but it's got like, you know, like
not as in depth as 5, right?
Yeah, and
I could see that.
And there's players wandering around screwing up with the game.
I could see that, but there's going to be a single player story, and then obviously a lot of the focus is going to be on this. Jez, I will fight you to the death on this.
I don't think Take-Two cares about single player games anymore, man. I think they just make service games from now on.
They probably don't, but Rockstar, I think, does. So I just can't imagine a scenario where a new Grand Theft Auto comes out and it's literally only Grand Theft Auto Online. I just don't. I can imagine what you're saying, like maybe the online is not as fleshed out or as deep or as long as Grand Theft Auto 5. And there's definitely more a focus of Grand Theft Auto Online. Yeah, I could totally see that. But there's going to be a single player for Grand Theft Auto 6. But I guess the bigger question is, what is with all these announcements of games in tweets and blog posts? Normally this stuff is announced in trailers. But you have Blizzard's new game. You have Grand Theft Auto 6, essentially. You have Crysis 4. I think Respawn's Star Wars games. Is this a new trend in the industry, Jez? Is this about trying to get people to hire for these projects and it's really difficult now? Like, what's going on?
I think the death of E3 has changed the mentality around everything to do with marketing, I think. Because like before it was just like, yeah, we'll build up everything for E3 and focus everything around that. But now it's just like, E3's dead, baby. E3's dead. So...
That's interesting. Fresco says, sending love to you guys from Saudi Arabia. Well, thank you very much, man. We appreciate your support and your love from Saudi Arabia. Damn, that's kind of crazy. People listening from across the world. What time is it in Saudi Arabia? It's got to be... Well, what time is it by you, Jez?
Middle of the night.
It's got to be, right?
Saudi Arabia,
yeah. Crazy. What else we got here?
Shout out to him.
F-Boy says, Randall, you have a monopoly with the million. Does a bidding war happen over WB games with Sony and Microsoft? I think there was a bidding war for WB games already, and I think AT&T didn't want to sell. and then the merger happens. So who knows what happens with that? Jez has always said that he didn't think Microsoft is interested because you don't own the license. And what good is Rocksteady without Batman? And maybe Sony feels the same way. But now, clearly, what was the rumored price that they wanted in 2020? Like $4 billion, right?
Yeah, something like that.
There's got to be a lot more now. So you're gonna be paying more. Do you work out a deal for the licenses? I don't know. Well, I guess we'll have to. I don't know. I kind of with Jez on this. The licenses are going to be a sticking point for a lot of the companies. I could see maybe EA buying Warner Brothers or something, or Take-Two. Smelly Wrestling Geek says Phil Spencer is also the man with the million, as he has 1 million followers on Twitter. Dub says traditional Warcraft and Starcraft RTS games from Blizzard, please. That's what Dub wants. Hargi Channy has been a member for 3 months, says Xbox need to acquire content they don't have, not what gamers in the US want. Already have that. Sega, Square, or Bandai are good options, plus Warner Brothers, WB/D. So he makes a good point. You might have to start acquiring publishers who make content for other parts of people in the world, for content that's lacking on Xbox or lacking in Game Pass in general. That's why we were saying maybe the next acquisition back in early January would be in the mobile space, and that people wouldn't be happy with it. And it was just, we just had no idea it was King, and people definitely would have been upset if. Can you imagine if like it was just another, like just a mobile pub? People would have been like, "What is this? We don't want this." But yeah, Phil's getting a Lifetime Achievement Award, Jez, from the Dice. And his buddy Todd Howard is gonna give it to him. So I made a video about this yesterday. I have my thoughts out there. I'm incredibly biased when it comes to Phil. So I think Phil's a great guy. He's done a lot for me. He's the reason why I was able to go to E3 and hit the 1 million gamer score. I've talked to him a lot of times about the industry. He's been very nice to me, and I think he saved Xbox. He would say that it wasn't just him, but it was his team. But I think he 100% deserves it, and I'm really happy that he's getting the awarded for it. What do you think?
Yeah, he totally deserves it. Like the way that Xbox is sort of the game preservation, paying out $1 billion to indie devs, creating a service that doesn't exploit devs but supports them in Xbox Game Pass. Phil's a trailblazer, man. Like everything that they've been doing under Phil has really been amazing, not just for Xbox but for the industry, I think. So it makes complete sense. I mean, there's a lot of constraints right now. The chip shortage, obviously, which has got to be so frustrating. I bet like Xbox would be doing so much better right now if it wasn't for the chip shortage. And also, just the state of the world has also put a big constraint on everything. Games being delayed and all that kind of stuff. But I think the strategy is perfectly solid. And if it wasn't for all the extraneous circumstances, things would be even better. But yeah, I think Phil saved Xbox. There's no doubt about it, and he definitely deserves the accolade. There's nothing more to say, really. He deserves it.
Yeah, 100%. I was just thinking of all the things he had to deal with when he took over in 2014, like consumer confidence in Xbox at an all-time low.
Yeah.
Your own employees no longer believing that the leadership team has the right vision, right? The upper management at Microsoft looking at Xbox as something that maybe we need to get rid of because you just destroyed the brand. PlayStation essentially taking jabs at you anytime they can. The gaming media being incredibly hostile because fans were hostile and they could get away with it. And it took a while, but to see where Xbox was and to where it is now, and like their acquisitions haven't even really put anything out. And people are more interested. Like, this really shouldn't have been possible when you think about it.
No, I mean, look at Activision. The moment like Activision's had a year similar to what Xbox had in 2013. I mean, arguably worse given like some of the accusations that have been thrown around. But like even like beyond that stuff, like they've had a terrible year and a terrible few years. So like Activision, the first sign of real trouble, Activision bailed, you know. But Xbox, this is the second time Xbox has really had a terrible issue to deal with. And like after the Red Ring of Death could have been another moment that Xbox got spun out. But the way that it's become so central to cloud as well, and some of their business to business stuff, it's completely changed everything, for the better. For the better, I think. So I am a happy Xbox fan right now and these days, Rand.
Yeah.
Very happy.
No, he deserves it. And that doesn't even include like, the initiative of the accessibility controller and the crossplay stuff and all those things that really kind of people overlook. I mean, we just kind of look at like where Xbox was to where it is now. Like, think about it. Like, their acquisitions haven't even really started. Like, we're talking about 2023 is when you feel the full brunt force. But right now, coming off of one of the worst generations a company could have, and your next generation systems are selling out. You can't get a Series X. The chip shortage kind of worked in your favor a little bit, right? Because PlayStation couldn't sell that much. So now you're selling more than any Xbox ever. And when in reality, like, people should, like, there's a good chance that nobody would, like, why would I want an Xbox? Like, you haven't proven me anything. Yeah, you bought all these studios, but I haven't seen any games from them. But yet, for whatever reason, and I think it's mostly because of Phil and the plan and all the stuff that everybody sees, it's like, yeah, okay, this is turned around, and it could have easily have gone the other way, right? Game Pass could have never have taken off or gotten the support it needed. And like, maybe Satya doesn't believe in gaming or what feels like this could all go completely differently, but it didn't. So it's pretty damn awesome. Chinook Guy says, did Microsoft hate gambling and or anything to do with manga or anime? If that is some of the things they don't like, then say goodbye to those Japanese publishers that people keep mentioning. Do you know anything about their distaste for gambling or anything?
I think Microsoft acknowledges. I think he's talking about gacha games, basically.
Right. Yeah, like Genshin Impact.
Genshin Impact. Capcom has a bunch of gacha games. There's also like a load of Final Fantasy gacha games as well. And basically, what it is like you play and then you get a loot box, and then the loot box has a PNG waifu in it, basically. so instead of like you get items, you get a waifu, you get a picture of a waifu, or a playable waifu in some games. So that's I think that's what he's talking about. It's hard to say. I think Microsoft would accept the reality that those games are very popular, because they are very popular, and I bet Rand secretly really loves gacha games. Even though
I don't think I've ever played one.
You never played Genshin Impact?
Nope. No, I have not played Genshin Impact.
Oh wow. Well, imagine if Halo was a gacha game. It'd be kind of like you do some stuff and whatever, and then once a day you get like a rec pack, a requisition pack, and then in there might be like a soldier or something that looked cool or something. I don't know, but they're like it's popular on mobile, and they make a lot of money because people want they grind for the waifus they want, basically. I don't think Microsoft's against that stuff necessarily. I mean, we've seen a lot of games get censored on Xbox or like outright just not come to Xbox. Galgun was a notorious example recently where basically Microsoft said you've got to remove the panty shots from the game. I don't know if you know about Galgun, Rand. But Galgun's a game where you shoot love bullets at schoolgirls and their clothes fall off or something like that. Basically, it's a bit sus in my view, but they're quite popular games. But because of that, Microsoft wanted to censor it, and Galgun was like, "Nah, that's that's central to our game experience." is the waifu aspect of it. So it's hard to say if Microsoft would accept that kind of content on its platform, but maybe there's some sort of halfway point they can go for. I don't think like Genshin Impact's particularly explicit or anything. So I'm sure there's a world where they would do some stuff like that, but who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Microsoft. Yeah, Morgan Mason says it's cultured in the chat. It's cultured, man. Culture.
Yeah, X the Gamer says, "Hey Jez, do you remember anything about Game Pass on TV meant to be announced last year?"
Game Pass on TV?
Well, essentially streaming stick or, apps on smart TVs or whatever for Game Pass, stuff like that.
Yeah, I haven't heard. I know they're gonna do it. It's just a matter of when, not if. But the when is frustrated because of the chip shortage. Microsoft can't get enough chips to sort of Microsoft can't get enough chips that they need to have the capacity for bringing another paradigm onto xCloud right now. We saw over Christmas there were queues for xCloud, and if they just dump xCloud on TVs without thinking it through, you're going to have a load of lag and you're going to have a load of queues to play, which is kind of the antithesis of what you want. So be careful what you wish for, basically. Like if you want that stuff on TV, it would mean queues probably, because at that point the service blows up. So again, with xCloud, a lot of the issue is chips, just like the issue with Final Fantasy 14 is chips, and the issue with a load of stuff. It's all chips. It all comes back to chips and server capacity, and once they solve that stuff, then maybe we'll get it. But that's going to be a while, I think, before that's fixed, if ever.
Julian says Xbox needs more waifus.
Yeah. Who's your favorite Xbox waifu, Rand? Cortana, right?
I mean, Cortana's pretty awesome. Although, well... yeah, I mean, Cortana. I mean, probably people will be like, yeah, Cortana. Cortana's the waifu.
Well, technically, Microsoft will own all the Blizzard waifus now. And Blizzard has a lot of waifus and husbandos.
I had a topic in here to talk about how Stadia is dead, but do you even care?
No, Stadia's so dead, we don't even care about discussing it.
I mean, it's interesting that they're basically going to did you see the thing where they said they're trying to like sell it to like Bungie or some like Paladin, who's already have some of their own problems.
Paladin, yeah.
And it's just like
the thing is, this wasn't even new. They already announced this stuff. They already announced that they were gonna do the business to business deal. So I don't know.
Well, it sounded like reading it that they've decreased investment in getting like games for Stadia, like big games, but like did any big games come to Stadia? I don't know. Everybody I talk to that's used Stadia says the tech is amazing, but like it's like doesn't got it, like I don't know. It's also so funny to me. Like everybody, like when this launched, everybody's like, this isn't gonna last, and it's not gonna last, especially the consumer version. But yet, I remember hearing all the time that Microsoft and Sony were like terrified of Google coming into the industry, and they came into the industry and they just completely face planted. Like I know that Xbox did stuff as a direct response immediately when like Google announced stuff for Stadia. Like, that's how worried they were. But then, like, they fucked it all up. Like,
Yes,
it's kind of nuts that anybody would have been worried about this, Jez. Like, at all. When you think about it in hindsight, why would you have been worried about this?
I don't know. It could have gone the other way, but I still think it's important that Microsoft fended them off. You know, it put an impetus to make sure xCloud could get to that level, right? But again, I think the chip shortage has probably given Microsoft an advantage because, you know, again, it's like Stadia couldn't expand either because they couldn't get chips. Like, no one can get chips. So because Stadia couldn't expand, it gave Microsoft the time it needed to meet them on the technology front. Because ultimately, Stadia was faster than xCloud, and I think it still has an edge. But xCloud's gotten a lot better. Where I am in Germany right now, on 100 meg down, it's basically like in a 2D game like Streets of Rage. It's imperceptible. Like it just feels native now. Like 3D games, a little bit different maybe, but I can play like Streets of Rage as if I was playing it natively on my Xbox right now, and Darkest Dungeon and stuff like that. So it's gotten really good lately, and they've been able to catch up on the technology because of the chip shortage. So, but I think we've said it before on the show that when Google saw how much Microsoft paid for Bethesda, they noped out of the whole thing.
Yep, they were just like, we gotta invest how much money to be competitive? No, we're done, bro.
We're done. Yeah,
we're shutting down our first party studios. They didn't even release a game. We're out of here.
All of the technology companies, they have like a cultural hook. They have something that they use to sort of anchor themselves in popular culture. Like Google has YouTube, Amazon has Amazon, Apple has music and iTunes, and I guess iPhone itself. But like Microsoft never really had anything. Like people use Windows begrudgingly at work and school, but they don't own any of the consumer mechanisms underneath Windows. They don't own Steam. And Satya Nadella made that point today that like they can't be seen as an Apple allegory because Apple's platforms are closed and they take a cut of all that stuff. But Microsoft doesn't take a cut of anything that's put on Windows because it's a completely open platform. And that's, to Satya's credit and their mentality around Windows is that keeping it open it sort of helps them fend off a lot of the criticisms that come with having a monopoly, because Windows is kind of a monopoly. But at the same time, Microsoft doesn't make a huge amount of money on it because it's an open platform, much like, the web itself, I guess. And, this is sort of been a roundabout way of saying that Google thinks that perhaps they should probably invest that money in something that is their core strength. We saw Microsoft try with Mixer, and then they were like, if we really want to compete in this, we need to spend more money, but maybe we should play to our strengths. And I think Google's just had that kind of realization too, and they're like, we should probably play to our strengths and like focus on enhancing YouTube, because we've already got a YouTube and YouTube's pretty good. I'm a YouTube Premium subscriber. I hate Google as a company, but I really like YouTube. I'm not gonna lie. I get a huge amount of value out of YouTube. I learn so much from different videos. I'm entertained. It barely costs any money, and I spend hours on YouTube every day. So I appreciate YouTube immensely, and I'd rather see Google invest their money in that rather than try to make Stadia happen. Because let's face it, Stadia ain't gonna happen. They don't get the industry, and they're not really committed. So yeah, that's my thought on that whole thing.
Interesting. You know what? Dub here says, when do we think the FTC investigation will be finished? In the super chat. Next year, I think. Sometime next year.
It's gonna be a while, yeah.
I don't think it'll close this year.
No.
But one more thing. What do you think about MLB once again coming day one on Game Pass? Did you expect this? It's a big game.
I know. They must have done some kind of multi-year deal with them.
You think so?
I know sports firms like that. So I guess it's a surprise, but also not at the same time somehow.
I was thinking I was wondering if they were going to do it again because it was like, okay, MLB is the publisher of the game on Xbox. And it was like, did they like what they saw out of it? Clearly, Xbox paid them a bunch of money. And I wonder how that deal worked. Clearly, the deal must have worked out for both parties, unless it was a multi-year deal, like you said. Maybe they signed up the next 3 games. But if they didn't, if it was just like, let's try the one game, clearly both parties must have liked it. I do wonder if like how that game performed within Game Pass, like because that game has a lot of microtransactions. Because a lot of people played it for free, quote unquote, on Game Pass. Were they more likely to buy microtransactions? So clearly, both parties enjoyed it to the point where they're doing it again. So that's interesting to see. We still have the back half of February coming for Game Pass. I guess I'll ask you now for your prediction, because I see this going around on the internet. Do you think Elden Ring is going to launch day one in Game Pass? Give it to me here. No? Okay. So you don't think so? Okay. That's Jez's prediction is Elden Ring will not be day one in Game Pass. Would it be a big deal if it was, though?
It would be a huge deal because a lot of people are scared of Souls games. I know I was, because of the reputation they have. But if it's in Game Pass, it's like, well, I can give it a try, you know. I think it'd be great for Elden Ring if they did put it in Game Pass, because it gives people the opportunity to try it and actually maybe get into it. Like $60 is a lot to spend if you're not sure if the game's going to be for you, and because it's a Souls-like, it's not going to be for a lot of people. But if it was in Game Pass, then they don't have to make that, that hard decision. So, but do I think it will be in there? I don't think it will be in there. Maybe in the future, but none of the FromSoft games have hit Game Pass so far, have they?
No, none of them yet. I mean, maybe Sekiro does once this deal closes, because I think Activision has the publishing rights to that.
Yeah, maybe. Sekiro will.
I don't know. So, Blue Moon FC says, more importantly, the Bengals or the Rams. Who you got in the Super Bowl, Jez?
I have no idea what that means.
Super Bowl football. Bengals.
What is that, like
Cincinnati
final?
Bengals.
Is that the final?
LA Rams. Yes, it's the last game for football.
What about what are they called now? The Dolphins.
No, the Dolphins are not. No, Dolphins didn't even make the playoffs.
Why not?
Because they're not a good team.
Oh man.
Just pick one.
I only know the Dolphins because of Ace Ventura. Oh man. I don't know sports football. What's the Seattle team called?
The Seahawks.
Seahawks. I like them because it's Microsoft. Xbox sponsors them. They're a good team. Are they in the Super Bowl?
No, they're not.
But hang on a sec. Is there multiple Super Bowls every year?
No, there's just one Super Bowl.
But I swear to God, Super Bowl is in the summer.
No, it's not in the summer. It's in February.
Is it this time of year every year?
Pretty much, yeah.
But isn't it? What if it snows?
Well, they usually have it in a stadium, warm weather place, or like indoor stadium. So usually,
very strange. I don't know.
So I think that's gonna be the show, guys. 3 hours long. We're gonna take some questions. If you guys have anything you want to ask, make sure you put it in the chat, and we'll do our best to answer it. The podcast will be up on all the podcast apps soon enough. And if you want to ask a question for the exclusive podcast episode, you can go to Spotify and drop us a voice question, and we will be doing one of those really soon. So if you want to have a very specific answer where we'll actually go a little bit more in depth on it, you can do it over there. So, yeah, and if you guys could like the show on the way out, we'd appreciate it, and subscribe. That would be amazing. Face wants to know, how does Dying Light 2 look on my CX and performance mode since it's 1080p? I mean, sometimes it looks good, and other times, like Jez says, it doesn't. But I'm all about the performance these days, and I'm not playing the game at 30 frames. I'm just not doing it. So, that's a sacrifice apparently. 1080p. So, I don't know. There's some parts of the game where it looks good, like the art style. It's just some parts when it gets really close up on some textures, sometimes you can tell it's like, yeah, that doesn't really look the greatest. Arafat wants to know, Jez, what's Phil doing in Japan? I think he always goes to Japan every year. It's just something he does. Talk to the developers there.
Phil's building up relationships.
Yeah.
I think Phil's working to deliver what we've all been asking for, which is support in Japan. But a lot of it's relationships and getting the culture down. Man, Phil's a machine. Like he's he's everywhere, man. This guy's like he's on a mission. This dude is a man with a mission, a personal mission to fix everything that's been wrong with Xbox for the last million years. Crazy.
Yeah. Tishar says, why doesn't Xbox support USB microphones when the competition does?
I thought they did. Or is it just webcams? Do they only support
it's just
webcams?
webcams. I don't think they support USB headsets or USB microphones. I could be wrong, though.
Oh, yeah. The reason for that is Microsoft, for some reason, Microsoft requires headset manufacturers to include their proprietary security chip. I don't know why they do this. I don't know if it's just because they want to take a cut on the licensing for the headsets. Obviously, it's a lucrative business. But I don't know if it's actually just because there is a potential security risk with devices connecting. You have to remember, Xbox is a Windows device at the end of the day. So I don't know if there's some kind of security reason for that. It could just be money. They want a cut of those peripherals, but I don't know is the real question, the real answer. But that's the reason why is because they require people to add the security chip, and there are some like dedicated microphones that do have the security chip in it, like the Turtle Beach made one, an Xbox dedicated microphone a few years ago. It wasn't very good, but it was something at least. But yeah, that's it.
Somebody asked, Morgan asked Moon Studios when. I don't think Microsoft will buy Moon Studios. They've also been staunchly saying that they're going to be independent. But who knows? Like Jez says, everybody's got a price. $1 million man. Everybody's got a price, right?
Is that Ted DiBiase?
Yeah, Ted DiBiase, the $1 million man. Everybody's gonna pay.
Do you remember when the WWE was good?
Yes, I do. Back when I was in high school, and The Rock and Stone Cold, it was the WWE Attitude Era, and I would go over to my friend's house every Monday, and we watch WCW on one TV and WWF on the other TV, and it was amazing. Wow, it was amazing.
I never saw WCW.
Dan the Whale says, "Do you think Sony would acquire From Software?" I think they would like to. I really do think they would like to. Poochie says, Rand, is Phil in Japan for Sega? Lol. I'm sure he's talking to Sega, but it's more about, like what Jez said, it's more about building relationships there. Seiko Yumi says, should Microsoft buy Warner Brothers, DC, Sega, Capcom, Eidos for Metaverse? Well, that's a lot of studios. Yeah, I mean, like we've heard Satya talk about the Metaverse. I still kind of roll my eyes every time the Metaverse is mentioned by anybody. I don't know.
If you notice, when Satya talks about the Metaverse, he's very careful about the way he frames it. He never mentions VR. He talks about like Minecraft being a metaverse, like, and it hitting on every screen, and it has a creator economy. So Microsoft thinks about metaverse as something that goes across every screen. But Facebook is desperate for you to think the metaverse is VR. Because the reason Facebook wants the metaverse to be VR is because they want to control the device you use to access the internet. Because if Facebook continues to rely on Apple, they're going to lose money because Apple's stopping them from serving ads. But Microsoft's like, yeah, we're already in the metaverse. Minecraft's a metaverse. Deal with it, you know. So I don't think Microsoft's going to push further into the metaverse than that. But do they want more games like Minecraft? I think so. I think we're going to see. I think that there's a future where Grounded gets a sort of maybe a creator economy potentially down the line. I think there's a future where you can buy like dedicated servers for Grounded, much like you can for Fallout 76 and Minecraft. Also, this Blizzard survival game, which could become pretty big deal, you know, if they nail it. Blizzard survival game obviously has potential to be a metaverse if it has like, you know, dedicated servers and a creator economy and all that kind of stuff. Metaverse doesn't have to just be VR these days, or well, ever. It's just Facebook's bullshit. This sort of turned this into a whole fad because it needs its investors to think that it isn't moronic. But unfortunately, it is moronic, and investors can smell the bullshit, and that's why their share price fell off a cliff. And I love it. I love it. But yeah.
Darren wants to know if we have any word on Xbox expanding Xbox Live to more countries. Seems like we haven't heard any news lately.
This is a complicated topic. And yeah, I spoke before, and I got theories about this. Like theories that because Microsoft's involved in the US military, that it prevents them from expanding in some ways. But I also think, once again, the chip shortage is playing a part in this. Microsoft needs to have data centers in order to expand. And Microsoft has recently spoke about expanding to Africa and expanding more further into India and stuff like that. And, you know, India is an officially supported region, but it's also like it's not as obviously supported as you know, the West is, and server infrastructure is part of that puzzle. So I think the rollout of Xbox to new territories is going to be hindered as long as we have this chip shortage, because every company wants chips now. People are putting chips in toasters and fridges, for God's sake. Every car needs like a computer in it now and a tablet and all. It's just bullshit, really. Like, what does a car need a computer? I mean, it's cool, but do I need a car with a computer in it, Rand? Do you want a car with a computer in it? I don't really want a car with a computer in it. I'd rather have a computer with a computer in it, if possible. But, you know, that's the times we live in, unfortunately. Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy out there in these chipless streets.
X the Gamer says, did the head of Microsoft say something about GTA being a good thing for the metaverse, or was I imagining that? I don't know. Don't recall. I don't recall. Arafat wants to know, he says the Xbox Series S got a new display. Will you guys review it? Got a new display? What do you mean?
Xbox Series S?
Yeah, I know you're talking about like the guy that kickstarted where you can like hook a screen into the back of it.
Oh yeah, Windows Central is supposed to get a review unit of that, but I have no idea where we are with that. So bear with me. We'll hopefully we'll have something for you in the near future about that.
Paul Simon says, Jez, what's your take on the gaming backtracks over NFT, aka Team 17?
Oh man,
it's pretty funny.
It's funny. It's funny. Like I think NFTs are a load of bullshit, at least for gaming. Like I love independent artists making money off JPEGs, off rich people like YouTubers and stuff. I think that's funny and great, and I think artists deserve all the money in the world. But video game publishers trying to leverage NFTs, they're doing it for profit only and not for gamers to make gaming better, because every feature for games that blockchain could implement can be done more cheaply using MySQL. And the only reason you want to use blockchain is if you want to tie it to a crypto and get a cut of those sweet trades. So I think it's hilarious when publishers shoot themselves in the foot and then have loads of bad press, and then have to backtrack
Well,
like
it wasn't just
idiots.
Team 17 that backtracked after like the day after announcing it, but Troy Baker backtracked as well. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, Troy Baker is obviously a famous video game voice actor
Mm-hmm.
who recently invested in a company or got involved with a company who wants to use AI to replace him. So I think he didn't really think through very much about how this was all going to go down. There's a lot of money flying around in this whole NFT bullshit, and it's leading to these hilarious scenarios where, you know, an exec sees dollar signs and then makes a load of dumb decisions, and then they have to backtrack, you know. But I don't know.
Yeah, and NFT is a topic where if you're a gaming company, you probably want to avoid for a bit. Like EA has kind of came out and said, yeah, we don't know about NFTs, maybe in the future, but not anytime soon. So, yeah, you know what? I think, let's see, that's a little bit over 3 hours. So I think that's where we're going to end the show for today. Thank you guys so much for being here. I think we had over 1,400 people, which is absolutely amazing. Make sure you hit the like button, and this will be posted on all the podcast apps if anybody, you know, if that's where you prefer to listen. Thank you guys for all the support, super chats, everybody in chat asking questions and just talking, and anybody lurking who didn't want to say anything. We appreciate everyone being here, no matter what you're doing. We just really love the fact that people care enough to watch what Dumb Rand and Smart Jez have to say about stuff.
Oh man, you sell yourself short, buddy. You're the one with 87,000 subscribers. Well, Rand, I'm about to hit 1,000 subscribers on my channel.
Yeah, congrats.
Thanks, buddy.
Can't wait. You're gonna start seeing Elden Ring like nonstop.
Yeah, I booked the day off work for Elden Ring, and I'll be streaming that on my channel.
You did.
And I will be. Yeah, I did. I booked 2 days off work actually, and I'm giving away headsets on my channel, Rand, because I got thousands of them, and I need to get rid of them. And I don't want to sell them because that's ethically questionable. So I'm just going to give them away.
Yeah. So we will be back next week with another episode of Xbox 2, hopefully on a Friday because we're doing good on a streak. And I don't know, who knows what's going to happen this week? Maybe somebody buys somebody else or something happens. Who knows? It's been a very eventful last 3 weeks, so let's hope it continues. So thank you guys, and